There we go. Oh, let me hit record here. Don't go anywhere, anybody. Here we go. We're here. All right, beautiful. We got to get the show started just a second here. Here, let me go like this. I don't want anybody to be lonely out there. Here I am. Okay, there we go. Oh, let's put these comments on the stage. We got Mrs. Tinfoil Dame. Mrs. Tinfoil Hat, man. We got Caretaker Dan. There we go. Everything's working. We're just taking a nice little stroll. Just a nice little stroll with the ducks. Here we are. I'm just now realizing the irony of our nice little stroll with the ducks. This music that we love so much here at the beginning. And the fact that I broke my foot taking a stroll with the emus. It's just, God has a sense of humor. I'll tell you what, God has a sense of humor. All right, well, we're going to get the show started here in just a moment. Remember, this is a call-in show, okay? You got to call in. Without people calling in, it's not a call-in show, and then that would make me a liar. You don't want to make me a liar, do you? There you go. Look down in the description of this live stream here. You'll see a nice little link. It's right next to the words call in, and that's because that's the call in link. So I would recommend you can call in even now, right? Because what happens, you click that link, you'll click a couple buttons, you'll get put into the back room of the show where you can listen to the show, you can watch the show, you can chat with anybody else that's back there with you. But that's a great way to keep your place in line. You never know. Sometimes we have a whole lot of callers. Now, I do need to say, as I often say, I'm going to say it. I got stuff to do today. All right. So I'm trying to make this a reasonable show. Don't worry. It's not going to be short or anything. I got to do something at about 4:00, but it would be nice to have some time before 4:00. All right, let's get this show started. You know how this is going to work. I'm going to put up this art right here. I'm going to hit this cool little jingle, and we're going to officially start the show. Let's go.
Called it. We got a caller. We got a caller on the line here.
That's a great way to sorry. It's a great way to start the show. Just a big nasty throat clear right as the intro jingle is finishing up. You'd think that 14, 15 years would teach me something about that. But I'm here, you're here. Thanks everybody. You're listening to Canary Clubhouse and Razzle Dazzle. I'm your best buddy Basil. We're here. We're taking a moment. Don't worry. No headlines, no scary stories. We're not getting angry about anything today. We just need a nice little palate cleanser for the week to bring us into the weekend and in the right mindset, perhaps even the mind of Christ. That would be best case scenario. I want to give a shout out. Okay, so we had a couple people. I'm going to say this here. Now, saying stuff on Clubhouse often is sort of a futile endeavor. All right, because there's only a select few in the Canary Cry community who even bother to come to the Clubhouse, right? Everybody else, they're like, what? No scary headlines. What? I don't want anything to do with that. That is fruitless time. And I'd say you wouldn't be the first to say that in my podcasting choices, but you also wouldn't be the first to be wrong. So I hope that this particular person or these particular people check out Canary Cry Clubhouse, because as you know, as we all know, and we can all recite from memory, by this point, you can join the Canary Cry text message alert system. All together now, how do you do it? You text the word Canary to 877-740-3226. Again, and I often say, just text the word Canary to 877-740-3226. You know what happens if you don't just text the word Canary? You don't get on the list, okay? It's an automated thing. I can't add you to the list, okay? That's not how this works. They're very protective. We're very protective. By the way, We are the ones that are very protective of everybody's phone numbers, okay? Which, as we've talked about before, we have to make these little choices in our lives, and we all should be making these choices whenever we can to make things less convenient, right? Convenience is the ultimate cost. Would it be convenient for us to just be able to throw any number on the text message alert system willy-nilly, right? We'd have an enormous call list if we could do that. But we refuse to make things easy, which means you cannot get on the text message alert system unless, one more time, you text just the word Canary to 877-740-3226. Do not text that number and say, hey, add me to the list. Hey, I want to be on this list. Add me to you. We can't do that. I can't do that. I won't do that. Okay. So hopefully that, and of course, we all know that is very expensive for us to send text messages to you. So we cannot carry on a conversation via text, okay? So the text message list is a, what's the word? It's a supplement. It's a supplemental way for us to stay connected. It's not a way for me to, there's nothing I can do about it. So hopefully that person, let me see if I can, there's actually a couple people, 478. I'll say 478 and any other related numbers. Go ahead. Make sure to text just the word Canary to the number. Okay. I hope you get on the list. The text message list is very fun because people continue to sign up. It's maybe our only like growing system, which is good. I think it's good. All right. Now, of course, oh, this is fun. Okay. All right. Let's stay on the text message for a second. Hang out here. Remember, when you text the word Canary to 877-740-3226, you get on a list. I personally send you a text message every time before we go live, right? People who are here live, they get the text message. That's why they're here. I cannot text you back. Do not text me questions, okay? If you have a question and you send the question, I might address it on the show. I try to address as many as possible. Oh no, it just flew out of my brain. It just flew out of my brain. No, come back. Come back. Come back. What was the next big important thing? Well, I'll say this. Oh yeah, that is the thing. You can text the number back. You can text your questions, text your comments. I read them all. Timing is always a bit of a factor, unfortunately. So, you know, whether it gets read on the show or not, that's up to the Holy Spirit. I want to give a shout out to Monica, producer Monica, of course, of Natural Liberty Podcast, texted and said, I used your emu egg analogy with a friend last week. It was great. Thank you for sharing your wisdom, buddy, Monica. Well, thank you very much. The emu egg analogy, one of a sort of record-setting extemporaneous explorations of the spiritual lessons of mundane things in our lives. I hope that it went well. I would probably have to try to extemporaneously repeat the emu egg analogy. But why would I do that if people can just go listen? I think it was about 3 or 4 episodes ago. But wonderful. Thank you, Monica. What a wonderful update / praise report. Is this 940 says, shout out to Highline Haas, talking about Sir Jacob Highline Haas, Knight of the Issachar Pursuit. I wasn't able to make it to the Kansas City meetup, but he brought me back a Canary Cry hat. Between him and Monica with the Natural Liberty podcast, I'm building up a collection of Canary Cry New Stock merch. Lord bless the show today. Amen. Thank you, 940. Wow. These people are getting connected out there, man. That's what I love to see it. Even when they can't make it to a meetup, they're getting connected. We got Sir Highline Haas, we got Monica, we got 940, all being friends out there. Now, well, I'll say this. You know, a few months ago, I guess it was back in like December. I had Rod called into the show. Rod from Millennial Mustard Seed Podcast was on the show, and you know how we get all hyped up, we get excited. We have some very similar tendencies when it comes to that, and of course, we got very passionate about the fact. And look, I have gotten word from some fairly popular and cool sources that our obsession, I won't blame anybody else. My obsession since about 2025 and then evolving into the beginning of 2026, and is made evident by the news yesterday. Again, from our perspective, let's stay focused here. The mainstream reporting of Great Deception theology from the Daily Mail. The details of the meeting. If you were learning the updates of the details of the secret government pastor meeting today, and you got your information about the secret pastor meeting from anywhere else on the internet, except for Canary Cry News Talk, if you got it from anywhere else and anybody else framed your understanding of the secret government pastor meeting about the Great Deception, you are feeling like a fool today, baby. Feeling like a fool. But not you, Canary Cry community, Canarians out there. You are not feeling like a fool. Because, of course, as we had to repeat multiple times, and we have to repeat all the time, focusing on the broad meta, not of who was at the meeting, what was the meeting, who called the meeting, were they in the government, were they out of the government, blah, 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 blah. But the very fact, the focus of the mainstream media, finding, or even what looks more now like they contrived the opportunity to inject the Great Deception theology into the mainstream media, is the most important and most factual and most interesting, in my opinion, part of the story. Because goodness gracious, the retractions, the corrections, they're coming out. Turns out the government making a secret meeting with all the pastors to tell them that the blah, 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 blah is nothing what people made it out to be. Which you heard here first. And so you're welcome for that. I'm getting a little razzle-dazzled here, getting a little frazzled. I'm trying to keep things, my brain straight here. I have so many things I want to talk about. But I say that to say, as Rod and I are actually pulling something off, and that is just a little trial, private, close-knit podcast, boot camp, and discipleship group, okay? We've got a handful of Canarians just like you who answered the call. They say it's 2026. We're moving out of, building awareness, moving out of exposed videos. We're moving out of simply trying to tell more and more people that things are not what they seem and what's coming has been foretold in biblical prophecy. We're moving out of that because it has reached max velocity, okay? Which is a disturbing thing for someone like Gons and I, because that's kind of been the motivating factor for almost 15 years now. We got to let people know. The body of Christ, they need to know, they need to be aware. We can't get so caught up in the things of this world that distract us that we misunderstand the times that we're moving in. But 2026, y'all heard me rant about it. There's something new. God is doing something new. The time of waking people up or whatever is kind of over. We're being activated into doing. Everybody's asking the question, and not just me, not just you. Huge people out there. are all asking the question, well, what in the world does God want next? And part of what got Rod and I amped up is it's like time to do, okay? There's people out there. Everybody kind of has an idea. Maybe not everybody, but the Lord's moving on people's hearts. But with the distractions and the hamstringing that the world has put upon all of us, whether it's the economy, whether it's the politics, whether it's the whatever, we all have these things in our lives that keep us from actually stepping out and creating the thing we want to create or answer the call that God is calling us to. And so we got very, very serious. We want to help people to do that. People in the Canarium, if anybody is called to step into this next chapter of what God's doing on sort of a broad level, it's the Canary Cry community. And so we're doing it. Okay. We're starting. It's starting today. Doors are closed. But we'll see how it goes. We might do it again. And so it's also an opportunity, for the people in the group to get very serious, to start the thing, be held accountable, whether it's podcast or YouTube or whatever it is that they feel called to do. And so I'm spending time being like, okay, I'm not trying to do like a class, like how-to podcast class, because you can just ask AI, or you can, there's a bajillion. Step 1, record your voice. Step 2, upload. Step 3, that's out there. But what I really feel like God wants to deliver to people who are just now stepping into this journey is some real X Factor stuff that I have suffered through. We have, Gons and I, of course, Rod also for 7 years. There's some X Factor stuff in stepping out and doing what God wants you to do that you can't learn from a step-by-step video or a listicle or something. So I'm very excited to share this with the class. And this next thing, I'm telling you all this to tell you that I was actually going to bring this exact thing up in the class, because this is a very important thing that I want to teach the next generation of podcasters or whatever. And here at Clubhouse, you guys are my closest friends. And so that I love to use this opportunity to share my heart on things that don't necessarily fit into the normal Canary Cry News Talk or Canary Cry radio format. Now, once in a while, I don't do it very often, and y'all know this, I try my best to stay away from superfluous feedback, right? Reading, going back, right? I mean, I see all the live comments, but like going back and like scouring comments on older videos, or checking my mentions on Twitter, or these types of things. Okay. I can't speak for Gons. Okay. He's a little bit more of a glutton for punishment, but for me, it's too distracting. And that counts for reviews. I'll check reviews of the podcast once in a while, maybe once every couple months. Usually when we're trying to encourage people to do new views. Or, I'm sorry, reviews. And so I go over and I check our reviews, and there's a new one from April 23rd. Maybe, should I share this? Let me share this. Let me put it on the screen for you. Stick around. I hope that this is not vanity. What I hope is that, like the emu egg metaphor, there might be something for everybody here. All right, so here it is. Not going to brag. Look at that. 4.9 stars. The show. And I got this one. It says here, great podcast. 5 stars, by the way, which is good. Love it. Although it did not warn me as to what was coming. And look, let me be clear. I am not picking on the person who left this review. I think they are here. And if they're not here now, they might hear it later. So just know I'm not picking on you, but it's an opportunity for me to share something that I think is important. 5 stars, great podcast. Unfortunately, and I would love to hear people's response to how they feel about this, right? Because maybe I'm wrong. Maybe, maybe my reaction, of course, is very singular and you know what I mean. Maybe this is my problem. 5 stars, great podcast. Unfortunately, podcast thinks, what did I say? Unfortunately, Basil thinks there's an Old Testament God and a New Testament God. That is an ancient misconception. It is the same God throughout. Understanding the God of the Old Testament in context is essential to understanding Jesus. And I wasn't going to talk about this, but I will talk about it because someone, either the same person or a different person, texted just now, this show, 614, says, Basil, can you clarify the difference between the Old Testament God and the New Testament God? Now, I don't know what y'all's response to this is, but when I read it to Gons, he erupted in a fit of laughter that I almost never see him do. Now, to be clear, I have no idea what this I have no idea. I obviously, and I have said explicitly an infinite amount of times that the God of the Old Testament and the God of the New Testament is the same God. I have based entire rants on this. So I do not know. I would be curious to hear where this person got this impression. Now, what I did talk about recently was that the Old Testament covenant is different from the New Testament covenant. The contract between God and his creation, the agreement between God and the relationship between man and God explicitly changed. That's why it's called the Old Testament and why it's called the New Testament. There was a moment where God said, you know what? I don't know why these humans can't get their act together, but it's obvious that I need to help them. And so out of God's grace and mercy, entered into history, manifested as a man, Jesus Christ, and drafted and ultimately signed in blood a new contract with humanity. Now, I shouldn't be saying anything that's new to anybody. I mean, this is pretty foundational Christian theology. In fact, what I think I said was that it is the number one most foundational piece of theology, in sort of an abstraction. The death and resurrection of Jesus Christ is the number one thing that separates Christianity from any other religion, but in this specific case, Judaism, the Old Covenant. Now, of course, there's a lot of people out there, and this is a topic of debate, because there's whole swaths of people that say, yes, Christians are under a new covenant, but Jewish people are still under the old covenant. So there's two active covenants for two different people. There's a whole other group of people who say, no, the old covenant is gone. It's all new covenant. And so you can see this, obviously, I'm not going to get into the nitty-gritty details. Obviously, this throws a lot of fuel on a lot of different fires, okay? So to answer this review, I do not think the Old Testament God is different from a New Testament God. If I ever said those words, that was a mistake. I do not believe I ever said those words because I'm actually very passionate about the fact that these are two different contracts. And that's what the celebration is all about. That's the enthusiasm. This is the revolutionary. That's what makes Christ such a history defining A, man in history, and B, God in eternity. Okay. We even talked about how, there's pretty good theology around Jesus appearing in the Old Testament in many different ways. A, through lots of different prophecies, of course, but there's also the question of Melchizedek. Is Melchizedek, who had no father, no mother, no offspring, and just sort of came and went, brought the knowledge of the one true God to Abraham, who became the father of many nations? Could Melchizedek have been a pre-incarnate Christ? It's possible. And is a reflection that the God of the Old Testament, the God of the New Testament, same God, two different agreements. Okay. What is mentioned in the rest of this review is it is the same God throughout. Understanding the God of the Old Testament in context is essential to understanding Jesus. I mentioned that already. Where was the other? There's a piece of this. Oh, this is I loved this. This is an ancient misconception. And truly, I'm not making fun of this person. I think misconception is a really polite way to say heresy. But that brings up some interesting questions with heretics and heresy. Considering heresy a misconception is actually, I think, a really graceful way to think about it. But yes, believing that the Old Testament God, the New Testament God are two different gods, or even, I don't know, the same God who changed drastically, is not only a misconception, but is a pretty infamous heresy, official heresy. Its most specific version is called Marcionism, which was around 144 AD. Marcionism believed in that the Old Testament God was sort of the wrathful demiurge or creator deity, and that the New Testament God was, is the real, benevolent, merciful kind of guy. And there's two different things. The people who are paying attention will also recognize this theology in Gnosticism. Gnosticism, a little bit more famous than Marcionism. There's some pretty stark differences between the two groups, but Gnosticism also believes that the Old Testament God was sort of like a vengeful, minor deity, like a little g God who was kind of running amok after creation was created. And then the New Testament was, again, the one true God coming in and kind of setting it straight. So, and what I think about this is very interesting is that this question, this noticing of the Old Testament and the New Testament having drastically, I will say, to put it maybe in their words, drastically different characteristics of God, right? That's how they would put it. But of course, God is the same yesterday, today, and forever. We know this. We can rely on the characteristics of God that are presented to us through the scripture. But just like you and I, folks, I mean, not to compare God to the human personality or the human, I guess, breadth of possibilities, God can also, and it's on record, God did change his mind. God was convinced not to destroy. There was bargaining that went on between, I believe it was Moses and God. I think there is another one with Abraham and God. And so he's, some people might say, well, bargaining with God, that's that's outside of his sort of ultimate characteristic that he is same today, yesterday, and forever. What I think it expresses more than anything is that God is personally invested in his creation, in the humans that he is in contract with, is in covenant with. And this is actually very good news, right? Now, of course, Jesus teaches us when we pray, we're praying for God's will be done, not our will be done. And you go back and you say, well, what was up with this bargaining, that happened in the Old Testament? There is an interplay. There is an ongoing conversation with God. And I think that's the point. At least that's the point that I take with it, because if we get stuck in trying to put God in a box or a list of characteristics, for whatever our own reasons for doing that is, it ultimately causes more trouble than not. And so, in the same way that God in the Old Testament had a different relationship, a different contract, a different way of relating with his creation from the New Testament contract relationship with God. It's not about, is God different here? Is he the same here? Is it? Take a step back. What we're being shown is that God is in conversation with us in time. Of course, he's out of time. He's everywhere, baby. He's here, he's there, he's outside of time. That's what makes it such a special thing, that God can come into time whenever he wants and stay in communication, stay in conversation with humanity. And that's what we see between the Old Testament and the New Testament. This next threshold of conversation with God and his creation. So I hope that that is a little bit more clear. It's possible that that's less clear, but thank you very much for the 5 stars, dear reviewer. And, speaking of conversation, I am open to looking at some time codes, dear reviewer and texter. Let's see. I think you're probably the same person, but maybe you're not. 614. If you have like an episode number and a time code where I gave you the impression that I think that there's 2 different gods, send it to me. I am not above misspeaking if that's what I did. But I think that's a good clarification. And I think this is a pretty relevant A, review, B, question, and C, thing to talk about in time at this point in the day. At this point in the week. Because, again, the flood, the injection of fairly specific and fringe theological concepts being poured out in the mainstream media for everyone to just sort of deal with and talk about, to take over whatever conversation was previously happening, just sort of in mass culture online, specifically regarding the secret government meeting with the pastors, etc. Before the show today, I was listening to it's like an hour and a half long, what I think was a recorded live church service from the fellow who was one of the big pastors that was at this meeting. Let me see, what was his name? I know we had it in our notes. Larry, I believe it was Larry Regulus. Oh, no, it was Didio. Mr. Didio. Let me see if I can pull it up. I almost considered doing like a watch party today of his response. Let me see, I can put it up on the screen here. Make sure there's no secret things. There you go. Here it is. Said they lied to you about the secret UFO meeting, the truth. In this video, we address the lies, misconceptions, and misrepresentations circulating on X and other platforms. We also go over what happened in the meeting, why some people are getting mixed up about the details, and how the gates of hell will not prevail against the Church of Jesus Christ. And it's a whole, there's a live audience. I think this was maybe like their church service or midweek service or something like that. But they also interact pretty directly with online viewers and things like that. It's an hour and 17 minutes. And when it comes to big pastors online who are also kind of influencers, who are also these sorts of things, I am obviously by nature pretty skeptical, or at least these people need to sort of prove themselves, I guess. And to be fair, I only got to listen to about 20 to 30 minutes of this post of his, this service. But what I did hear was a lot of sanity. A lot of sanity and a lot of, honestly, reflections of kind of what Gons and I were postulating yesterday about the thing. And to tie it back into the review, I find that often people who come to the show, probably usually new people who come to the show, they're looking for a certain thing. And that certain thing is certainty. We can put other names on it, like maybe alarmism, maybe, this is why I've talked about a lot of what used to be fringy shows, but are now sort of mainstream conspiracy theory kind of thing. And a lot of people interact with them, whether they know it or not, just by their own desires, interact with it more in a entertainment sort of way, where they're coming to have their thoughts, have their worldview reflected back to them. And if there's anything that, even if it doesn't go against their current worldview about something, just if it doesn't support it even a little bit, that's why we take our time and are very intentional about analyzing and looking at these things through the lens of the media analysis. And I said it yesterday, I believe that the most important and the most interesting part about the story about a secret government meeting with the pastors was the opportunity and the injection into mass popular media, a pretty fringe piece of Christian theology. And not fringe to say that it's like wrong or weird, just one that's not very talked about in sort of mainstream Christian churches. That's the great deception. And I think that is confirmed with what we know now about that meeting, that almost none of the sensational details about it are even true. That not just that they're not sensational, just that they're not even true. But as I said yesterday, it's not about, is it the Great Deception? Is it not the Great Deception? Are there aliens? Are there not aliens? Were they government officials or were they not government officials? It was the meeting itself. It was the story itself was a gateway into taking mass media the next step in whatever the PSYOP is. And of course, ultimately, the PSYOP is the Great Deception. Will this inoculate certain people or Christians? And of course, the alarmism, the falsehoods, the telling the most exciting story, the most exciting version of what happened. Like I pointed out, the Vigilant Fox, who basically just had no real interest in what really happened, but just had an interest in telling the most exciting story. And we'll see what the effect of that is on sort of a, I don't know, a personal or individual level. But on a mass level, it was another initiation. We've been pointing out these moments of initiation, and specifically kind of mass media initiating, I guess, the masses into more and more particular fringe information. Daily Mail, of course, being like the number one, who I think is doing it the best, whether they're initiating people into MK Ultra theories, whether they're initiating, I mean, they initiated the entire, 11, 12, 13 missing scientists, right? That was entirely initiated by them. And it took over. It absolutely took over. And one thing that, again, we mentioned on the episode, but was reiterated in this presentation that Didio posted here, was that this meeting happened in February, and they had been posting videos about it for months. For months, these pastors had been making videos. Hey, we, talked to these people inside the government, and we all agreed that we need to teach the churches about the Great Deception because the Great Deception of coming. For months, they had been posting this, and suddenly, at the snap of a finger, on Tuesday, I think it was, Monday or Tuesday, it was all anybody could talk about. I mean, it's quite obviously it was a manufactured sort of virality. And when we see these manufactured mass media events, I mean, the question is barely why, because we kind of know why. But there's a lot of people who their first instinct is not to ask why. It's to focus on the event as if it is the what's the word? Like the event is the event is all that there is to glean, to learn. The event itself is like a moment of entertainment. It's like a concert. It's like a whatever. And this is keeping people stuck in a loop, stuck in a cycle that we try our best to try to get out of. It's very hard. It's very difficult. It's not, I mean, there's a reason. They are masters at manipulation. The social engineers are masters of making you think what they want you to think, the conclusions that you come to, that you think are your own conclusions. They're masters at it. And if you can't see it, it's because you're like a fish in water trying to like point out water. A fish doesn't, you know the metaphor. I don't need to try to stumble through it again. So that's where we're on. That's why I believe that's why God has us doing Clubhouse like this. And I think there's a lot of people out there who have a lot of value to bring to step into the ring, whatever ring God has in front of them, right? Whether it's podcasting or YouTube or something, but it could be whatever. It could be a ministry in your own church. We had, I believe it was producer David G, start the men's group in his church. There's something that God is asking you to do, and you want it, right? You desire it. You know it. You're like, I really want a men's group. I really want to make this podcast. I really want these things. And we quote all the time. I mean, he gives us the desires of our hearts. Not that he gives us $1 million every time we desire $1 million. But when we desire something so clearly, sometimes unexplained, and we know that we're supposed to do it, we know that we want to do it, it excites us. We imagine our lives, we imagine the world, we imagine the impact that we could have on people. If only we did this thing, started this thing, whatever. It's so easy to push it aside too, because it's very difficult. It takes a long time, and it takes a lot of sensitivity. We have to practice this sensitivity. Is this from God? Is this from me? Is God telling me this, or do I just want this? Does God want this for me, or is it just a random opportunity? These are sort of the lifelong things. And you get better at it by doing it, by sitting and listening. Let me get this down off the screen here. Get out of here, video. And so we're moving forward through time, through history. Thank God, under the new covenant, through Jesus Christ. But we're at a very strange point in history. We talk about it all the time. The joke is, if you would have told Gons and I that, the global pandemic in 2020, if you would have told Gons and I, everything happening today in 2026, the irony is we would have said, yeah, you're right. Probably. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Let's dig deeper into that. Look at that. Look at all the signs. Look at all the developments. Look at all the technology. Yeah, this is going to happen. And then when it gets here, we're looking around going, well, what do we do now? We spent so much time, and I'm including all of y'all in this. We've spent so much time and energy foreseeing where we are, where we have arrived. Many of you, a decade or more, we saw this all coming. The irony is, now that we're here, the question is, everybody's asking is, oh my gosh, what do we do about it? And it's come up a couple times. It came up in yesterday's episode, and we have a great conversation interview coming out soon that we have the conversation again, is our worldliness. I believe it's our flesh, our instinct, not even to say that it's evil or bad or something, but our instinct, when we look around and we say, oh my gosh, we're here, what do we do? Lots of our first instincts are, how do we stop it? How do we stop the beast system? How do we stop the biblical prophecy unfolding in front of our eyes? That's just sort of the natural thing, right? It's our first thought. When something goes bad, we always think, how do we stop it? And then we look at Peter Thiel, billionaire, beast system, emperor of the beast system, give lectures about the end times, about the Antichrist, about AI, about dystopia, bringing the word, bringing the biblical prophecy to people who had never heard of it before, mostly Silicon Valley weirdos, right? And say, oh, the Antichrist is coming. So we need to build an AI beast system so we can stop the Antichrist from coming, right? That's the ultimate. And the only difference between Peter Thiel's logic of, we need to stop the Antichrist by building a beast system and marking everybody's foreheads and taking over the economy. The only difference between that instinct to say it's the end of the world, how do we stop it? And our instinct, our natural one, of course, thanks to the mind of Christ, we can step out of that. But our natural instinct is that he's the billionaire and can actually do something about it. So thank God that he has us in these positions. I mean, I don't know. Look, there's probably a billionaire or two who tunes into the show, might have the ability to, control world history, but we don't, but I don't. And thank God that I don't have to contend with the human instinct to try to stop and times biblical prophecy from taking from taking place, ironically stop it by doing it myself. And so, of course, what does that mean? What do we do? Well, of course, we know endurance. To endure, we're here to endure. We're here to make it through. We're here to stay aligned with the mind of Christ, to be the salt and light, to live through what we've been told to live through, the opportunity that we have to live through this. It's a real blessing, often in disguise. And the rest he'll put on our hearts. The rest he will put on our hearts. And it doesn't mean everybody needs to, find their new kingdom work in online media or something. We have producers who their kingdom work is obviously like homesteading and farming goats and digging wells and all these sorts of things, right? We've had callers come in, and it's quite obvious. We could tell from their enthusiasm, from their knowledge, from the way they talk about it, from the way they encourage others. You can tell that God is the one who put that desire on their heart, and they are living it. And so I pray that we can all experience the sensitivity to what God wants for us and to just move in that direction, just to do it. We got a text to round it out. I think it was a response about the review. 601 says, the reviewer who seemed to think you thought the God of the Old Testament is different from the God of the New Testament. Heard you say that statement in a very recent podcast. I heard it too. You are not making the claim. You are stating several different things that different people believe. The reviewer didn't hear the whole context of your comments. Yeah, that makes sense. I don't recall it, but yes, that makes logical sense. That's funny. I'm gonna have to talk to the podcast class about this, because this happens a lot, and it's just part of it, right? People, whether they're listening to the show or watch the show, they got kids running around. Their distractions, maybe they're gardening and they got their earbuds in, maybe their mind wanders for a second, and the next sentence that they hear with no context is, the Old Testament God is different from the New Testament God. I mean, how hilarious would that be if I just became Gnostic, like just very serious, very earnestly, just just explicitly was like, you know what, guys, actually Gnosticism, this has got some good points. Actually, let's look into this. It would be the first time that somebody did that. But yes. And this is a good lesson too, for those of us who are desiring to hear from God, desiring the discernment between if a desire of ours is ours or if it's God's. If you want to hear from God, if you want discernment in that area, the Bible actually tells you exactly how to build that discernment. And that is what you're hearing in alignment with what you know. Right? The Bible talks about testing the spirits. And if even an angel comes to you and tells you a different gospel from what the disciples taught, don't listen to him. That's not God. You test it against what you know. So yeah, if an angel appears to you and say, hey, I need you to go start a ministry where you convince everybody that the God of the Old Testament is a demiurge and was a rebellious lesser God. All you got to do is, hey, I know you're an angel and everything, but that doesn't really line up with the word of God, as I understand it. In the same sense, if any of y'all out there ever hear me say something that is explicitly opposite of what you know about me, it's a good opportunity to stop, discern, say, hey, was what I just heard Basil say in alignment with what I know about him from 15 years of podcasting? No? Let me go listen again. Let me listen in context. Maybe he misspoke, something like that. And we can apply that across the board, okay? So good advice for everybody. Thank you, 601. Thank you, 614. And thank you to the reviewer. Okay, where are we at? Wow, about an hour in. Okay, sounds good. It's time to take some callers, I think. Time to take some callers. This is a call-in show, folks. You know what a call-in show needs? Callers. And if you're watching live, you'll see in the description of this podcast here something very important. And that is a little line that says call in link. And you'll see a link. Depending where you're watching the show or how you're watching the show, you can just click on that link or copy that link, paste it into a browser, answer a couple questions. You get put into the back room, and I'll bring you on when the time comes. When you're back there. Oops, somebody's calling me. Nope. Okay. What was I going to say? Yeah. Oh, you can do it from any device. You don't need a fancy microphone. You can do it from your phone, you can do it from whatever. So do it. We got a couple of callers in the back room here. They kind of got a little shuffled around. So to the callers in the private chat, I know one of you was in the front of the line and then you recently left and came back, which technically puts you in the back of the line. If that was on purpose, now is your time to tell me. If you were trying to go later in the show. Okay, thank you very much. All right, we're going to take our first caller here. It is the one, the only, Sir Psalm 40. Coming on up. What's going on, Psalm 40?
Hey, bud, how you doing?
Yep. Good, buddy. How are you?
You can hear me pretty well?
Yep, you sound good.
Okay. All right, I don't have much time, so I guess we could jump right in. I wanted to talk about some like normie stuff for a second, but a couple of comments on your opening. Number one, when I first was introduced to you,
Oh, did I lose you? Oh no, you're just getting into the good part. Okay, Psalm 40. If you can hear me.
years.
Oh, hold on one
grinding my teeth through watching you.
Well, hold on. I want to hear this. I want to hear all of it, but you disappeared for a second. You disappeared right at the beginning. So sorry. I think I hear what you're saying, but I want to make sure I and everybody else can hear it. So start again. I think you're back.
It was just I couldn't tell the difference between when you were being sarcastic and when you were being serious.
Yeah.
And I was actually just learning about flat Earth at the time, and there was like a prominent flat earther that had went on CCR, and that's how I was introduced to CCR. And you were like making fun of it, and like I was all on fire about it, zealous flat earther. And so like I didn't like that at all. And like it kind of went on, like, but I realized, you're first off, I stopped taking myself so seriously, and then also I understood the matter better, like the whole scope of the personalities, and like you're saying here, your backlog of, if you don't know who these people are by now, like you should. There's enough of your voice recorded on the internet to have a good idea of what kind of a person you are.
Amen.
And honestly, if you were living a double life, like some people do, I believe that would be evident by now. You guys really have been rolling forever,
Yeah.
And speaking of the yeah, go ahead.
Just a comment. The part where you said, you stopped taking yourself so seriously, that is so beautiful and so perfect. And for me, that was also a big part of my journey over this whole thing, because the times when I took myself too seriously were the times that I was just really off base with even just what God was doing in my life. And it's really difficult because, a lot of this stuff is very serious topics, and it can be dangerous to mistake taking the topic seriously for taking ourselves too seriously. And this is from top to bottom. I mean, I've told the story about we used to do a bunch of conferences, and all the conference people were so upset that I, was having fun or not, was showing up with
The
big
mark,
hair and
the
stuff.
location of the mark of the beast, right?
That was, yes, one of the more infamous ones for sure. Like, and so, again, from the googly eyes to the what we hope is lightheartedness in certain times and places, and unfortunately the sarcasm, which we are trying our best to not be so distracting. Um, I hope and I pray and I have to have faith that there is some value that God wants to bring to people in that sort of exact vein, right? We we, we can we can, let's see, separate out uh, the important things to be really serious about, and hopefully that's not us. It's kind of all remembering that we're not God and God is in charge.
Yeah, for sure. The other thing I wanted to comment on was the whole disclosure thing that's been going on.
Mhm.
I told you a couple of months back I called in, and I guess pretty much it's hard to really put a timeline on it. For a while now, I've been feeling like the alien thing really is gonna like come to its precipice. Like, they've been teasing it for whatever 70 years or something,
Mhm.
and I feel like something is gonna come to some kind of a, at least like a next, some kind of something is happening, okay, obviously. And the most fascinating thing to me is how quick it flipped from they're not demons to specifically they are. Like that
Mhm.
specific flip um is just odd, you know.
Yeah. 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 And it's funny too, because, you know, I don't want to take the adversary too seriously, but at the same time, don't want to underestimate, his cleverness, which is really clever, and his ability to counterfeit as well. And so, yes, it's totally unexpected to have coming from the White House, aliens are demons, JD Vance, the vice president, as well as a ton of other politicians telling you to read Enoch sort of thing. It's just totally bizarre. On one hand, I do kind of see it in light of God's humor, his sense of humor. And part of that is because for many, many years, digging in to the biblical evidence that aliens are not extraterrestrial. Indeed, they are spiritual. They are demons or other types of spiritual entities that do not have our best interests at heart. Was this sort of secret underground conspiracy theory, tinfoil hat, very small club, right? You'd be afraid to bring it up to your normie, not even your normie friends, but like your Christian friends, your church friends, right? Is just, and there is a hilariousness that in God's sovereignty, that he is allowing for the adversary to take that information and use it in some way that I'm really not sure what it is yet. I know that if it's coming from the government and it's getting it pushed through mass media and it's suddenly like the right thing to think as far as the world is concerned, I know from experience that when something reaches that level, there's some sort of counterfeit involved. There's some sort of trick. There's something is up. Something smells fishy, because I know that's how the devil works. But with everything the devil does, God's allowing it. And so I really find like a delightful humor in the way that God is allowing what was so explicitly fringe weirdo, fringe of the fringe of the fringe, wouldn't speak it to your pastor or something, is now just like the number one most understood theory about aliens. And I appreciate that. I appreciate that about God. But you're right. Something's up. There's some sort of counterfeit, and I don't know exactly what it is yet.
I wonder if this whole narrative shift will just give more credibility to the uh, Age of Disclosure Diary and that whole crew, because one of their claims was that it is Christians poking their nose in the government that is, stopping or altering the disclosure process. And now we have this. But I do not have much time. So I want to pivot real quick and talk some normie stuff with you if we can.
Let's do it.
Are you watching anything? Is there anything you've been watching?
You mean like on TV?
Yeah, do you do that?
Not a whole lot. Not a whole lot. Let's see. No. Do you have recommendations? I got rid of most of my streaming things, and I have not been watching a whole lot of things. I'm trying to remember what it was because I was telling Gons about it. It'll come to me. It was a couple
Oh
weeks
yeah.
ago.
Well, I'm not sure if it's the same thing, but I remember you telling Gons about some samurai thing you were watching.
Yeah, Shogun. Yes, that's.
I just finished The House of David. That is actually very good.
Oh, what is? I've never heard of that. What is that?
It's the story of David from, I guess they start pretty much right before he gets anointed. So like Saul is, or you know what? They start at Agag when Saul fails to kill the Amalekite king, and Samuel has to do it for him, and then Saul basically loses his kingship there. That's where the show starts.
Is
And
it
then the first season ends with gold being killed.
Oh, you're turning into a robot just a
It's
little bit.
basically
Just a little robot or some 40. But is it a TV show? Like, are there seasons or what is? Where would I watch it?
It's on Amazon, and 2 seasons have been released.
Okay. All right. A little catching up to do. Sounds good. Interesting. Jeff Bezos putting out the David TV show. Is it what's it like? Is it like high quality like Game of Thrones style?
Yeah, it's excellent. Yeah, 10 out of 10. Absolutely.
Okay.
It's the Chosen, but just better. Like they take their own artistic liberties, but it's not like autistic people or like masturbation and stuff like that.
Well, that's good. I never did watch The Chosen, but I heard good things. But okay, all right. Well, maybe I'll track that down. You're saying it's on Amazon Prime.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, okay. All right. Cool. How far along
I just finished the second season, so like I'm totally caught up. And
so
at this point, Saul has recently, like in the middle of season 2 is when Saul finds out that David's one has been anointed under his nose, like to cancel the whole. Saul knew someone was anointed, he didn't know what it was. It just was to be the guy.
Oh no.
And
Robot, Sir Psalm
So
40 again.
oh, sorry about that, man. I live out in the sticks. It sucks.
Yeah, no worries. You're back now. Okay. Well, cool, man. I'll check it
So
out.
the
I'm
next
gonna have
season,
to boot
it's
up my Amazon Prime again, but we can figure it out.
definitely worth it. The next season, I don't know when it comes out, but it's gonna pick up pretty much when David is on the run. Like the second season ends when David goes and gets the sword of Goliath from like the temple, the priest village. You know, remember that
Right.
part?
Yeah, right.
His
Oh,
his
it's just
running
getting good.
phase has just
Just
begun.
getting exciting.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, right
Right.
on. Okay. Well, I'll check it out, man. That's cool. Yeah, anybody out there, if you've seen it too, yeah, just hit me up. Give me the skinny. All right, dude. Well, it's great to talk to you again. Thanks for a little bit of the normie stuff too. You know, these are the things that keep us going in the in between time. So praise God.
Yeah, man. I will talk to you again soon.
All right, take it easy, buddy. Bye. Amazon Prime. Gonna have to. Well, do we get Amazon Prime Video with just our regular Amazon Prime thing? Or is it extra? I don't know. Somebody have to figure out. MSDS says, be very cautious of The Chosen. In fact, do yourself a favor and don't watch it. Yeah, I never watched it. I kind of heard that. I'm trying to remember the things that I heard. I think somebody was talking about how it's, again, I could be making this up, but I'm just trying to recall that it was made by Mormons or Jehovah's Witness or something. And I think there's a couple moments where maybe that was more apparent to some people. Okay. Let's check in on the next caller. We got a beautiful, wonderful caller, and his name is Liquid Bacons. Let's bring him up on stage. There he is. What's going on, Liquid Bacons?
Hey, what's up, Basil?
Not much. Hanging tough. How about you?
I'm getting through it. It's been extremely interesting week. Went through all the roller coaster and everything. It's really funny. I was really hesitant about talking about my brother and how in the world I'd get there from last week. It seemed to open up the spiritual warfare floodgates and all that. But I think things are going pretty good. But I just wanted to send a super shout out thank you to everyone in the Canary Cry community and the Discord and all that. You guys helped me through a lot. So thank you guys. You helped me more than I can express and all that.
Right on, man. That's great. Yeah, thank you for the messages you've been leaving, pitching the various communities, man. We're not as good at that as we probably should be. But yeah, it's great to hear canarycry.community and the Discord channel popping off. It's kind of, there's a lot of things in our entire career that, you go 15 years just like trying to make it without like a big plan, and you start like 3 different communities for people to join on 3 different platforms, and you're like, oh geez, if we just would have put it all into one, and we're just spreading ourselves too thin and stuff. But there's pretty nice bunch of people in both of those communities. So if anybody's interested, get in there, make some connections, man. Canarycry.party. You'll see the invites there.
Yeah, it's very helpful, especially before the Pandy 2.0 kind of thing. So that's where
Right.
that's where I heard that like it was most popping back in the first one. But definitely with the in the spirit of liberty before authority, it's better to prepare before stuff happens. So, but it's been
Amen.
good. Everybody sharing ideas and stuff. Been super helpful. So,
That's great,
yeah.
man. Love it.
Also, too, I guess to piggyback on that, I forgot on the speak pipe message on Wednesday. I forgot to throw out that we're having like a Canary Cry woke woke no not woke yoked bros kind of thing, doing a push up challenge like 300 a week and all that, and
Oh,
so
great.
yeah, so it's been cool. And so if he's gonna call, then he can double shout out that and all that. But
That's
yeah, it's been good
awesome.
stuff. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
have thought about doing something like that for a long time, and that's where the producers really shine, baby, making it happen. Canary Cry
Heck yeah.
push-up challenge. Let's go.
Yeah, if you'd ever do research time and all that, like, I mean, you can always slip in, whatever kind of reps while you're doing, research on 2 times speed and stuff. So
Totally.
to get
That's
you,
great.
yeah. But let me see. Also, another clarification. Last Thursday, I was saying that I was gonna, or Amy. Oh, whoops. Ember's Fallen on the Discord and Canary Cry community. My wife, she, I was gonna say that I said that she was gonna come on and share her story. I forgot
Mhm.
to add that she'll go and do that when she feels up to it and all that. She got back from a long trip, and so she hasn't been able to fill up to sharing and all that. But hopefully next week and all that.
That's
Um,
that's fair. Whenever she's ready, we're ready for her.
Yeah, and I don't really have anything like specific and all that to wait today. Nor do I want to like hog up the stage and everything. But there's like maybe like 4 makeshift thoughts that I wanted to throw out. Oh, also a clarification on last week too. I was saying like lucid and all that, and so I confused myself on terminology. I was in the shared dream. It felt real, but I didn't realize that I was dreaming. And so
Gotcha.
somehow,
Yeah.
anyway, yeah. So I'm looking at my notes, and oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. I think I wanted to start out saying like so like out of all the skate talk and everything, and if you stumbled upon any kind of things that could have triggered memories, or if you ever got to talk to your mom and everything, has there been any new memories? Just
No, to be honest, no, haven't, I haven't really been pursuing.
oh
Uh,
yeah,
it is a good reminder. I really should call my mother. It's been a little while. I
yeah,
don't know if she's listening or not, but it would be a good reason for me to make sure to be a good son.
yeah, and also just not to like coach you into whatever. There's also kind of a wisdom question I was trying to ask because in Discord, some of them or some of the people there, I think it was well it was basically asking, it's like, if I'm stumbling upon, you know, possible traumatic memories and everything like that, how good is it, to pursue that stuff if your plate of trauma is kind of like, overfloweth kind of thing.
Right.
Um, and so I thought of that. I gave my response in the Discord, and a couple other people who've been engaged gave their response. And we're all wired differently, so my response, could be the worst absolute possibility, but I wanted to pick your brain as far as like, um with your handlement of the topic, to wherever you're at with it. I just wanted to pick your brain as far as like, what do you think is a wise degree or response to if someone's been in gate or to any kind of traumatic sort of thing. We have a support thread for people who've been touched by the supernatural or UFO or anything like that. Like, if we're dealing with issues of repressed memories, or if the more we look into it, we've been experiencing more repressed memories and we're not able to handle it. What would your thoughts for wisdom be for someone going through that? And it does apply to me directly. I just don't know when to quit, I guess. But
Yeah.
more the
Right.
line.
No, that's definitely a good question. And, there's gonna be degrees of experience. Everybody is gonna experience what you're talking about in kind of their own way. I mean, it's maybe not the most incredible insight, um, but I would say that you're kinda gonna know, if you find that digging up more things or more things coming to you, is causing more anguish or causing more confusion. And maybe a good maybe one good metric, there's probably a series of metrics, but one good metric is um, the more you pursue, the more you research, the more you remember. Number one metric would be, is it drawing you closer to God, or is it distracting you from whatever it is, he's got you doing in life? I would say that that would be maybe my number one metric, as you uncover things, as you remember things, being aware to discern, like, am I drawing into the Father? Am I spending more time with God? Am I, praying more? Am I, whatever it is, all the different ways that um, we experience our relationship with Father. Number one, if it's actively drawing you to the Father in sort of a real way, I think, that might be an okay sign that you don't need to jump ship quite yet. If you find that, yeah, that it's maybe distracting, or the fear is kind of has you looking in other places to handle that or extinguish it. If it's a distraction from, maybe it could be different ways, very practical ways. you know, are you spending time praying and reading the Bible, and spending time with God in sort of practical ways is good measurement. But often there's sort of invisible ways. Is it causing us to trust more, or are we doubting? Are we maybe blaming God for bad things? That kind of stuff. There can be everybody's going to experience it different. So whether or not it's bringing you further or closer from Jesus is a good first metric, I'd say. And then second, if it's affecting your sort of daily life, your responsibilities to your family, your the way you're treating yourself, these are kind of very practical measurements I'm taking here. Because yeah, if it's freaking you out and you're maybe a little on edge, and then you find that you accidentally take that out on, kids or a wife or something, or if it's, causing problems with your ability to support your family, those would be, I don't know if that's super wise, but I'd say those would be my sort of practical first things to pay attention to. Um, How does
Good
that
word.
sound? Is that
Yeah,
something
good
I'm
word.
trying to? Yeah, it's a little tough because I haven't experienced it,
Yeah.
I mean, I had a couple times where memories, of the, Gifted and Talented program would come back, and it was more fun, right? Like, "Oh, I remember that." But thankfully, I haven't had any really disturbing experiences or memories come back.
Yeah.
I would also pay attention to the supernatural in your life, right? The spiritual warfare. Now spiritual warfare, it's easy to confuse spiritual warfare for, you know, opening up doors, to be
Yeah.
messed with, right? There's a subtle difference there, and it takes some discernment to decide. Just because there's some spiritual battles going on doesn't necessarily mean that something should be avoided. However, if you're feeling some serious spiritual consequences as a result, that might be another. I would certainly take that to God and be sensitive, and also know that you're not required to do. The past belongs to God, right?
Yeah.
You're not required to dig up all your worst memories, to dig up all these spooky things. That's not necessarily, I mean, unless someone is specifically called to do that, but that's not generally something we're mandated to do as believers, right? So if you feel the freedom to stop. I think that's a pretty good sense to have. If because the adversary loves to lock us in on something, right? Rabbit trails, obsessions. If you find that there's more of an obsession with it, and it's painful and weird, scary things are coming up, but you feel you feel unable to like take a break or something, that it's possible that it's praying pretty seriously about not being sort of shackled by that. If you feel uh compelled, obsessed, and sort of trapped by having to move forward, I would certainly take that to God and question if that's him or a very clever little trap, by the enemy.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think one of the biggest things for me, as far as like, for me, I mean, just with the different things that I went through, me uncovering me trying to uncover the stuff in my past, is that give a great explanation as to why, you know, I've either been the way I have, or, um, been affected, and just a lot
Mhm.
of stuff. So that's a good thing. One of
Yeah,
the things that's made it hard for me to not look into the issue as much as I have, is, the baseline, wanting to be able to help anyone who's been in a similar similar case, a similar story.
yeah,
um and
yeah,
so if anybody's motivated with that, like, like, I think that's like, a super super good thing. But like, but even in relation to what you're saying, like, is in your pursuit of trying to find the truth of either what you've been through, or whatever in the world, whatever's motivating you, you have to make sure that love is outweighing fear. It
right.
cannot be fear based, or it's just going to be a darkened spiral. And
Yeah,
then you'll end up letting a lot of what they wanted you to do end up winning. um
yeah, yeah.
yeah
That's
and
great.
yeah Yeah, and another thing too is what's made it hard for me to stop looking into stuff, is, well, obviously helping people, but then even trying to help my nieces, because they're going through school, and they are going through nightmarish stuff.
Mm,
And I talked with her mom, my sister, and my sister's gone through some stuff, and we had a conversation. And it's interesting to pick her brain on how much she remembers. And it seems that she's in class B and all that. But
mm,
as far as kids go, like her kids, a lot of those advanced classes and all that, and they're showing a lot of signs of being a byproduct
mm.
of being in gate. And I don't know specifically if they are, but as far as like the classic public educational system, institutionalized screw over, fully alive in my nieces. And so I don't know, just things. I highly sense that they are a part of it,
Mm.
especially when it's when there's a lot of bloodline focus. But in either case, if I've figured out how they're doing stuff, like, it would definitely help me figure out how to do my best to damage control the things they've been going through, because it would be best case scenario, lesser degree,
Yeah,
of. But yeah, I I don't know. It's just interesting.
it really is. So, did you and all your siblings all engage?
As far as I know, I was the only one that was in gate proper, class A,
Okay.
from
Oh, right. I see. Okay. Yeah.
yeah. And my brother and my sister, flying colors, like beyond flying colors, class B kind of thing.
Mm,
Uh,
mhm.
and, uh, and I was looking more into it, and it seems like I was a part of a magnet school um, in elementary, and my sister was there with me. My brother was too young to go. Um, and if my sister was there, that means she was a part of it. And and the different kind of class she was a part of uh, reeks of class B kind of classification, and also the experiences that she expressed to me while she was going there, classic class B stuff, but
Mm.
you know
Yeah.
but granted, and to be fair, that's still just speculation on my part.
Sure.
For
Sure. Yeah.
um she has expressed to me, the classical gate stuff with headphones and different things. So it's suspect with her. Problem is that for me to go and find out certain things with her, I'd have to kind of talk to her and normie framed, I guess, because she already
Hmm.
thinks. But aside from that, um, yeah, I guess for another side note, um, please continue to pray for my brother, because stuff on his side is far worse than I thought.
Mm.
With
Yeah.
him, yeah. And in either case, I'm not going to share any other new information about that because it is far more crazier than last week's story. But I
Crazy.
wanted to pick your brain, kind of like first episode, with a couple things, and then I'll totally be off. Um, I didn't know if you've experienced like the kind of like gate frequency random noises that people can confuse with tinnitus and all that, but it kind of hits like in the central part of your brain maybe ever so often. I don't know
Mhm.
if you've ever get hit with that kind of thing.
Yeah, again, not recently, but yeah, I certainly, yeah, was pretty convinced I had tinnitus at one point. I mean, for a long time, yeah.
Yeah.
Noises, noises, ringings, tones, um, that was all a part of my pretty ongoing kind of spiritual experiences that,
Yeah.
again, thankfully kind of ended around my mid 20s after I had just had it. But yeah, it was, yeah, that's certainly so. I guess I never really considered it could be connected, but
Yeah.
that was definitely something I had quite a bit.
Yeah, and I never thought, until I learned more stuff, I never thought there was like any kind of connection, and also I never thought that it was any different from anybody else, like that you just
Mhm.
randomly get like these high pitch frequency noises,
Right.
and it's not really audible. It's just somewhere in your head and you're picking up something.
Right.
And my wife gets that too, and a lot of people I was around was getting that, or at least enough to where it would confirm that, you just thought it was normal because you didn't get it all the time. You just got it ever so often.
Uh-huh.
um that's been some of my research lately, is like, what the heck is that, and where is it coming from? Is it like, from all the cell towers and you're just picking up stuff nobody else does? Is it your classic Manchurian Candidate dog whistle, and then but it's just the programming's broken down, so it's not affecting me. Um, but but actually, that was another point I was gonna last episode bring up, because I mean, you said it first. The irritating thing with me is that I've gotten that throughout my life. I thank God that I didn't have a personal phone, until later in life. But I would go, and with my parents' phone, I would answer a phone, and it would have those weird ringing noises. Like, it wasn't
Huh.
so much like AOL dial-up kind of thing, but it was like weirder. And like with the way it was like way more intentional. Like, just,
Huh.
yeah. And I hope and pray to God that I obviously wasn't, you know, triggered or activated or whatever. But when I first got my first cellular phone, I would get that mess all the time, like concerningly. And I'm like, are these scammers? What is this mess? Blah 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 blah. And this is after that one guy who, after I was in public education system, you know, I wasn't never mind, I wasn't graduated yet. I was maybe I was like 12, and he went in, and I think I talked about this before, but he went in and asked me. I think the whole setup was, if I am targeted or was targeted because of gate, my mom went to church and I'd go with her. A person from church, and this is also a common setup and everything. A person from my research and all that. A person would go to church, befriend my mom, and this is how predators work as well. A person goes over, befriends my mom. It's usually a girl. Befriends my mom enough to where my mom would trust her with kids. The friend would go and babysit, make any excuse. You guys deserve a night out. The friend watches the kids. The friend hands the kids over to somebody else, and your wildest imagination answers the question on that of what happens. So that kind of thing had happened to me. As far as specific abuse and all that, I only remember one. And it's with a guy who the friend introduced me to the guy once, and he's like, "Hey," and I'm playing with my toys, and then and then I don't know this guy. First thing he says is, "Hey." I say, "Hey." He says, "Have you ever been in gate?" And I said, "Yeah, I was in gate, but I didn't like it. They gave me too much homework, so I cheated and got kicked out. So it was really cool." And he's like, "Oh." So he's like, okay. And then he walks away. Well, and I don't even remember, he was in relation, like, as far as like vicinity of that friend, but I don't know where he came from, And so my mom's friend ended up babysitting. Have I told this story before?
I'm not recalling it.
Okay. So anyway, so my mom, the friend babysits me and my sister from my mom, and my mom goes to church. So my friend goes over and we're with her for a little while, and then she hands us off to the same guy who asked if I was in gate. We go over to his house. We end up watching scary movies. And I wasn't fazed by it because, like, I was staying close to God, and I'm like, this is weird. Like, why in the world is he watching scary movies? They're not that bad. I'd already been preconditioned with Freddy Krueger and all that stuff, so I handled that no different. But I'm with him and my sister, and he has a kid who he introduced as Ivan or Igor or whatever, and he's like a couple years older than me, so he might be 14 and I'm 12. I barely noticed him because he was so quiet and he was sitting on the couch behind me and my sister. And somehow the guy talked. His name was Lewis, but I doubt that was his real name. And I doubt he's alive still because he was old. But he goes over, and when he gets up from the couch after watching scary movies, before all that, he gave me and my sister a drink. My sister went and drank it before I'd be like, hey, that might not be a good idea, but she drinks the whole thing, and I'm like, oh crap. Well, I better be sober to to be on guard to protect her about anything.
Mm-hmm.
And so anyways, he taps Igor on the shoulder, and Igor just goes straight, like, into full-blown hypnotic trance mode. And so then he gets up and he's like, "Oh, I see you haven't drunken your drink yet." And I'm like, "Yeah, And then he goes over to the kitchen and he starts either making a drink or more or whatever. and he's taking his time over there. Then he walks over to me and he's like, have you ever been hypnotized? And I'm like, no, I don't think I can be. He's like, let's see if you can be hypnotized. I'm like, all right. And so then he goes over and he basically hypnotizes me. I don't want to get into any more detail.
Sure.
It's pretty bad. I think that's what I referred to as like Epstein-ish or whatever.
Right.
Let me
Wow.
see what else. I forgot. I had a point in the beginning on why to tell this story, but it's obviously gate related. First thing he talks to me is if I've been in gate. I hadn't talked to
Right.
this, you know. I'm trying to collect why it was because of those stinking phone calls. Anyways, so he ends up, hypnotizing me, and he does this one thing that's like programmed as in like a program response, hypnotized why that if he did whatever, then I'd be hypnotized. So he did that to me, and I got programmed into me. Fast forward some years later, and I completely forget about this instance. This is actually what brought me down this gate rabbit hole, because like 2-3 years ago I started remembering that incident, and then I started spiraling hard, and like I've had like maybe 2 jobs since, because it
Sure.
was
Yeah.
with stuff, and I got flooded with a bunch of stuff, and so it was really hard for me to handle, as if the rest of the things in my life weren't hard to handle at the
Yeah.
time.
Good gracious.
But what's crazy is that when I was in church, um, I was talking and sharing, and it was the bad church. The one, there's also a spiritual support group in the Discord, and I have like the church I went to posted there with exposed videos by like NBC and ABC, all that, because it was so bad. Anyways, so I was in church, and this one guy was preaching, and my friends were my friends, but they're kind of like jerks at the same time. And so I'm sharing what I'm sharing to the preacher, but since I like was maybe long-winded and giving like a typical gate kid response and not really getting to the point, um they they basically tapped on me to signal, like kind of like, okay, now you can shut up or whatever, right? To get me to stop. And but the problem is that was the freaking hypnotic trigger. And so I went into a complete hypnotic state, all while still talking. And so it sounded like I was going through a seizure, because I was half talking, because I was in mid sentence, but instantly thrown into a hypnotic trance. And but then I was only there for a while, and then I came to and picked up to where I was talking, and and it was pretty lame sauce. But what's cool is that
Wow.
nobody's triggered that into me anymore, like ever since. But whenever
Right.
people inadvertently do that, I have like a huge somatic response
Huh.
about it. Yeah. And so I mean, I wasn't planning on telling this story. But with a lot of the stuff that I've been saying, thus far, I'm only like sharing these stories. I'm only, you know, saying a lot of stuff that either has significance or not, kind of like being you know, a an open case study for if anybody goes and notices some of these things active in their lives, and wondering what the heck,
Yeah,
whether it's
that's what I was gonna say. I mean, obviously there has been people that heard us talking about gate in the past, and they go to the community, they get in the gate support group or whatever you guys got going on there, which I think is incredible. I've at least never heard of any other one of these. Not that they don't exist, but I will say, if anybody out there listening to your story, if that rings any bells, or even just rings any bells for anybody else, or whatever, and you haven't known what to do or anybody to talk to, or even what questions to ask, it's an incredible resource to get over to the, is it the Discord or canarycry.community that you guys, or both?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's been
So
awesome.
no, I
Discord.
mean, that's incredible, man. And yeah, I mean, that's pretty tough stuff, pretty tough work that you're doing. So, the beginning of our conversation is obviously very relevant, because yeah, again, with these things, and it could be any number of things in our past, right? That the devil got in there and things went sideways, and it's, is where God brought us through it, and here we are on the other side. It's definitely important to be sensitive to, because of course, God can bring amazing healing through that sort of thing, especially with, a group sort of atmosphere, people who understand, people who have gone through similar things. And like always, the adversary wants to keep us isolated. He wants to keep us isolated. He loves bringing up the past, and he loves convincing us that nobody understands, or that they'll, people will think we're weird, or they'll think we're bad. And so, as is so often in so many other ways, finding a group of believers and building that sort of trust and fellowship that grows everybody's faith, it's a very important thing. So I highly recommend, if there's anybody out there who even has questions about Gate, or was in it or whatever, go over to canarycry.party. You'll see the invite link to the Discord channel there, or you can join canarycry.community. That's sort of an off big platform, kind of private social media little joint over there that Canaries have been keeping going for years. So highly recommend people do that, man. And thank you for coming on and talking about it, being vulnerable, and again, asking the right questions, because we definitely want to stay in the path that God has us on and not get distracted by these sorts of things.
Yeah.
But yeah, God can do amazing things through it.
Yeah, thank you for letting me hog up the stage so much too.
Yeah, no worries, buddy.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
really
go
quick though. Sorry. Just a yes or no question. Do you remember in Gate being getting a visor that had a whole bunch of like shapes with colors in your?
Like that would go over my eyes?
Yeah, like you're wearing kind of back in the day.
That's a good question. Not right off the top of my head. We'll see
Okay,
if something comes to me. I'll let you know.
Okay, I wasn't planning on calling next week, because I was gonna let this be like my last, call for the series or whatever. Hopefully, my wife can come on, share her story or whatever.
Sure.
But if I call in whenever's or whatever, then I'll probably talk about that next, because it's really interesting, especially.
Yeah. Right on. Yeah. Well, there you go. Maybe that'll help jog my memory.
Yeah, and also, one request. If you're able to look into Nathan Reynolds or Gray from Imagination Podcast, it would be totally awesome if you can have them on a Canary Cry radio episode and all that.
I think we had someone reach out to Nathan Reynolds for us. I'll check with Rod. But
cool.
I think we made contact. I think we've made contact. I don't know if we have anything scheduled as of yet, but I think we've made contact, and I think he's down.
Awesome. Yeah, that's what they told me too, and all that.
Cool.
So
Perfect.
yay, awesome. Thanks.
Yeah, right on, man. Yeah, thanks for hooking it up, making the suggestion. I'll have to check on that, see where we are on that process, but we'll get them on soon.
Awesome. Well, God bless you so much. And if anybody to catch me in Discord, I'm usually hanging out in voice chat just to chit chat. And usually Thursday through Saturdays when I'm free.
Cool. And your liquid bacon's on the Discord too?
Yep.
Right on, buddy. All right. Go find them, folks. God bless you, buddy. Thanks for calling in.
Take care. Thanks, Baz.
Bye. Yeah, goodness question. Good question, though. I mean, that's always, again, it makes me really feel for people who are a little early on in their thing. Because much like, the talk about looking into gate and your previous experiences and remembering things. And yeah, there are ways, of course, that God can use that for his glory. And there are ways that that can become, a little bit of a stumbling block for us. Similarly, um, people waking up, getting into whatever conspiracy theories, but even politics, the book of Enoch, biblical prophecy, all these things. I'm so grateful that so many of us here have had so many years of experience of navigating it because, a lot of people, it just becomes a total stumbling block and not just, gets between them and God, but can get between them and others, can get between them and the brethren, can get between them and, and so it can become an isolating factor in their life. So we always want to pay attention to the fruit of these things, folks. It's the fruit apparent. Is it drawing you closer to God, drawing you closer to unity with the brethren? Is it drawing you into isolation or uh, fellowship? These are all good questions. All right. We got a few more callers jumping in here. I'm going to be running the timer. Here, 10 minutes per caller. It's just a suggestion here. Up next, we've got Sir James. Sir James, let's bring you up on stage. What's going on, buddy?
Hey, a question.
Okay.
He mentioned Nathan Reynolds. Is that the same Nathan Reynolds that wrote Snatched from the Flames, or is this a different Nathan Reynolds?
Yeah, that's him. Snatched from the Flames.
Yeah, he does a YouTube channel called, I think it's Lennon Railroad, with his wife.
Okay.
I've been sort of off and on. I read his book or listened to his audio book because he literally took his whole Snatch from the Flames and made it free on YouTube.
Cool.
Wow, you're gonna have him on. That's really cool, man.
Yeah,
That's
I hope so.
really, really cool.
Cool. I'm glad
some stuff that guy has talked about in his book. You need to read. I don't know if you've ever read his book or listened to his book.
No,
I
not yet.
highly recommend that you listen to his book. It is almost it's almost unbelievable, but knowing, with us having the biblical worldview that we have, it makes, it is plausible what he went through in that book.
No, I'll have to check it out.
You absolutely, I would highly recommend you do. On another note, man, God's timing is amazing. Another YouTuber just popped up on my feed that hasn't been doing anything else, hasn't posted anything for a long time. And you probably remember her because I believe she was on your guys' show a while back. Her name was Dana Ashley. I don't know if you remember her or not. Yeah. She was around the time of COVID. She just popped up again. And she put out a video called End Days Start Here, Daniel 2. The scroll is open.
Yeah, I'm looking at it here.
But yeah, she was the one that was basically warning people about 5G before a lot of other people were, way before even COVID. Mentioning about the metal in the air, like the metals and whatnot, that whole thing. This woman is fearless. This one, nothing makes this woman afraid, man. This woman is not afraid of any man. This woman, this latest video she put out is, it's very important. Now she claims And I would say I would recommend you watch this video to understand what she's claiming. But she highly urges people not to take part in this National Day of Prayer next week.
Interesting.
And she gives her reasons in that video.
All right, we'll have to take a
like
look.
I said, you could say conspiracy, but this woman, she does her research. She's just like you guys. She does her research.
Right on.
So, you know, what I love about you guys, you and people like you and Nathan Reynolds and another person I would love for you guys to be able to get on your show is John Pounders. Yeah, and I'm sort of like giving you a list of people. It'd be great for you to have on your
I'm
show.
just pulling them up in the background here as you mentioned them. What we love to ask people to do, and a lot of our guests have been scheduled this way, is feel free, if you're able, to reach out to these people. If you're able to get their attention, you know, say, I'm producing for Canary Cry Radio. I'd love to get you on the episode here. We have a little
John Pounders. It's JON.
founder of Hope for Prisoners Initiative.
No, actually, he did this thing called Now You See TV, but then, like many things, he got demonetized.
Demonetized or taken down?
No, he got demonetized. He became the victim of so many other YouTubers because of speaking out of certain things. And his name is John Pounders. He does this thing called Pounders Quest now. He used to do this thing called Midnight Ride, but Midnight Ride, they finished their Midnight Ride. They stopped doing Midnight Ride, but he did it with this older gentleman named David Carrico. John Pounders is amazing. I think he would be an amazing guest to have on have you guys to interview.
Great. We'll write these down here. John Pounders Quest. Yeah, I never heard of him, but I got him pulled up here, and he does exist. I see he's been on some other shows. Cool, man. Right on.
And of course, the person that I've talked before, but I don't know how you'd be able to get him on your program, and that would be Tim Cohen, who wrote The Antichrist in a Cup of Tea. But that might be, I think that would be something that would be, I don't think he would talk about anything that would be, that couldn't be said on YouTube, because he's done other interviews with other podcasters, and his stuff has showed up on YouTube. So
yeah, I think he has a YouTube channel I'm seeing here. If this is him, yeah, King Charles. He's the King Charles guy, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Well, I got him written down here. We'll see if we can reach out.
Yeah, I think you guys would. Those would be some really good. Those would be some really good people to have on your program. I think because of your guys's, the whole value for value thing when you guys push. That, and also, of course, Blurry Creatures. I think I've mentioned that before as well. But
yeah, we've made contact with them.
But yeah, that's all I can really think of at the moment. And like I said, I can't. This video that Dana Ashley put out, it might be something you might actually want to watch yourself.
Okay, cool.
On a different, more awesome personal note.
Okay, let's hear it. There we go. Let's go.
An amazing thing took place on Sunday night at New Birth. At least I'm hoping that was genuine. My brother called up at New Birth, and I prayed for my brother that he would, get saved. And he ended up talking to the one person he needed to talk to that would be able to identify with what he's going through, and that being Pastor Rick at this New Birth. mission.
Okay.
And that night he gave that night he gave himself to the Lord. Ow.
Hey, praise God, man.
But I will say, I wish I could say it was all positive, but um, he is still dealing with alcohol addiction.
Yeah, well, one step at a time. I mean,
Yeah.
Christ comes first. The rest is comes afterwards. You know, and I wouldn't be too bummed by that. That's kind of the
No,
process.
I
How it goes.
was I had tears of joy that night.
Yeah, no,
Uh,
that's incredible. That's huge, man.
yeah, and that's what Pastor Rick told him that night. Told him that he's proud of him. Told him that he took the first step. And
Yeah,
the enemy, it's like the enemy was trying to almost stop it,
of course.
because my brother actually felt kind of like he was disrespecting God, um, by doing this while he was still, because he was drinking that night.
Yeah,
But Pastor Rick let him know, hey, you're taking the step.
yeah.
And so
No, that's
I would
awesome.
ask,
I know you've been praying for that for a while, man, and we've had the
yeah,
producers praying for him too. That's incredible. And yeah, I wouldn't worry too much about that. I've been in the presence of that exact thing plenty of times. Yeah. Guys who
but I
just
would just,
can't
I would
seem
ask
to
you to
stay
pray for
sober
him,
for a
please.
couple minutes. They tend to not be sober when they come to Christ, but it changes after that.
That's what I'm hoping.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that is to be the case. Yes.
Praise God, man.
But yes, that's about the best thing I think I've seen happen in a while. And I do
I
believe
love
it was God's timing yet again. Proof of God's
Amen.
timing.
Yeah, man, that's incredible. That's you've shared with us a few times about your brother and the whole predicament. We've called the producers a few times. We're gonna keep calling on the producers because, like you said, that's the start of the journey. But you can't get where you're going without taking that first step. So that's really amazing, man. I'm happy for you.
Thank you very much. Your guys, like I said, this is a very important ministry. I'm so glad that I met you guys. Oh, there's more to that story. I'm sorry. I went to my regular church because New Birth is only during the weekends, like Sunday night. Um, so my regular church was having a revival. So about 2 weeks ago, I talked to my pastor at that church and I gave him my brother's phone number and I said, please call my brother.
Hmm.
And so what ended up happening was, I think, is that my pastor at that church, Pastor Seiler, um, called him. And that night, which was this past Sunday night, my brother called me to thank me for Pastor Seiler calling him.
Mm.
So I do believe this was God's doing. This was
Yeah.
all God's hand in this, using two pastors to, at least that's what it seems to me, is what I'm seeing right now.
Yeah. Well,
So
that's the job,
all praise
man.
to God. All
Yeah.
praise to him.
Yeah. Amen. Well, thank you, man, for that praise report. That's really encouraging. You know, we love to see God coming in, intervening, making progress in people's lives there with their obedience. And it's just the beginning. I can't wait to hear about all the well, there's gonna be twists and turns. You know, there's
Oh yeah.
always twists and turns. It's just the beginning. But I'm really excited for you, really excited for your brother as well. And I hope I'll pray that this, God does wonderful things, not just in his life, but in your guys' relationship, buddy. That's wonderful.
Thank you very much for that.
Yeah. And thanks for keeping us updated, man. Appreciate that. Keep us posted as we go into the
I
future. We
will.
want to celebrate with you, buddy.
I will. Thank you very much. And
All
you
right.
guys, may God continue to bless this amazing ministry.
Amen. Thanks so much, man. God bless.
Bye.
Bye. Love the praise reports, man. Love the praise reports. It's people take for granted. the praise report thing. If you're not out there giving testimony to what God's doing in your life, you're missing half the fun. Of course, we're always taking prayer requests, things like that. Real quick, before we jump into the next caller, I do want to mention for those who are part of the Canary text message alert system, people feel free to text in if you got any prayer requests or anything, because of course, like Sir James mentioned, we're value for value. And part of the way you can keep this show alive, put value back in, is to join the Pray-Ducers.
Pray-Ducers, assemble!
That's right. Prayerfully producing the show. Big deal. Of course, pray for the show. Pray for God tonight. It's very important. But 678 texted in, says, "Hey, Basil, it's Sam. Can y'all please pray for my daughter again? Her Crohn's reared up again with severe sacroiliac pain. She's 19, been dealing with this for 6 years. Please pray she returns to her first love." Yeah, amen. Everybody who's listening right now, we're going to be praying for Sam's daughter, 19, with the Crohn's disease. It's flaring up. Let's see here. Been dealing with it for 6 years. Please pray she returns to her first love. Yeah, we're be keeping her in prayer, man. It's we have these different directions, these different relationships that we pray into. Of course, we pray into so many things, but family members, of course, brothers, sisters, these things, the answers to prayer in their life reach far back into our relationship with them, because their current predicament, their coming out of whatever we are praying for them for, isn't just a today thing, but it even reaches back into our history with that person and seems to bring meaning and healing in so many different ways, not just for whatever, if it's a health thing or an addiction thing, but it can sort of rewrite and give purpose to our entire history with that person. And especially when it's a son or a daughter, goodness gracious, there is no farther stretching history we can have with someone than people that you made. So, answers to prayer to our children, or to your children, I don't have any children, is so much bigger than just a miracle of healing or something, but it's a miracle to sort of an entire history and a legacy. And so, yes, thank you, Sam. We'll be praying for your daughter, her Crohn's disease, as well as she returning to her first love. Buddy, thanks for texting that in. We had one more. One more prayer request, if I can find it. Oh, I'll save that one. That's not a prayer request, but let's see here. Come on, where are you? Okay, we're praying for TDL Prez. Praying, let's see here. He's in Atlanta. Please keep our family in your prayers. Being a creative DJ talent agent my whole life, moving into real estate investing and lending has proven to be more of a test. Hence all the prayer requests for the squatting cop and all other real estate prayer requests. Please call the squad on the next episode for your boy, TDL Prez, and fam, for all the things, putting an end cap on all these funds that are out. And of course, the squatting cop scenario that keeps playing out due to laws in Alabama that favor anybody but the landlord. Yeah, God bless you, TDL Press. Goodness gracious. Yeah, it's always, it's a tale as old as time, but a relatable, we'll call it relatable. Somebody who's been a creative person for work their whole life, and there comes a point in life where you have an opportunity, to get into something that is maybe not your natural inclination, getting into real estate investing or lending or something like that. It is not just a tough business, but a tough, you have to find ways to adjust your current skill set, your mindset, your diligence, all these things. to a new career path. Trust me, I've thought about that for a while. I should have been a banker, man. I should have just been a banker. Banker or podcaster, those are my choices. I picked podcaster. This is not saying it's the exact situation, but of course, yes, you're dealing with that still ongoing real estate issue with the squatting cop. We're praying for you, TDL Prez. Everybody out there, join in with me. Okay, we got another caller on the line. It is the one, the only Liberty Before Authority. We got some goats on the video, looking good, beautiful. How you doing, Liberty Before Authority?
Oh, dude, fantastic, brother. How are you, man?
Right on, hanging in there. You know,
Awesome.
I was watching your goat videos, while you're sitting there in the waiting room, and I saw one of your enclosures. I am currently poking around on Amazon looking for like a 10 by 10 or a 10 by 15 enclosure. And
yeah,
it's just always a mystery how, the quality of these things and how they're going to go. But I could swear that a couple of the enclosures I've seen on your videos are the ones that I'm looking at on Amazon.
it may be. I think I got the dog kennels, the 10 by 10s from Tractor Supply, and I've kind of just made them work for how what I need. Split them in half, add extra doors, add a cattle panel roof with a tarp. Just improvise, brother. Nothing like I don't have it all planned out. We decide we're doing something and then we execute. And you got to make it happen. And there's a lot of different ways to go about it, but you can't go wrong with these steel kennels here. Easy. Just for something temporary. It's easy, but real quick before I forget, this is a beautiful day, brother. You are officially invited into the Spartan push-up group. Isn't that cool?
Is that the one in the community?
Yeah, there's two. Shout out to Psalms 40, and shout out to Bacon. They locked it down. They're going to commit to 300 push-ups a week, and I'm pumped, man.
I love it. I am still got the boot on my foot, and have just recently been able to kind of inch to the bathroom on it, but I've been getting pretty itchy to start, using my body again. I can feel, I can see, number one, very sad. I now have one calf that is beautiful and sculpted and huge, and my other calf is it's gone. It's withered away. And I'm being confronted with the fact that it's gonna be a process to get back to being able to work out, man. But that might just be the way I got to do it. I just need to do it that way.
Yeah, if you can't really do it with your legs, why not work your body a little bit? Because once you get good enough, once you're fluent enough, because it really takes about 3 months to commit to a habit before it becomes something for real in your life. And that after you get to that point, a lot of the boys, we're adding in other stuff. We're doing squats. We're adding in different kinds of workouts. But start somewhere, brother. Do something. You got to do the stuff. We got to start somewhere.
To be clear, before I broke my foot, I was maybe in the best shape of my life. And I've told the testimony before, and I only say this to encourage other people in conjunction with encouraging them to also join your Spartan push-up group. It was 2020. I was 60 pounds heavier than I am today in 2020. And I just decided it helps when the entire world is shut down and suddenly you have time to start working out. It took me 4 years, but just became completely unrecognizable. And more importantly, it didn't come from having, for me, a fitness goal, I want to be shredded, or I want to, be able to lift this, or I want to be able to do that. Much like the process of getting Canary Cry News Talk as just a regular, committed schedule instead of randomly making interviews on CCR like we did for 10 years. I only counted success in actually participating, in actually doing the workout 3 times a week or whatever it was at the time. And you can forget about everything. You can forget about how much weight, you can forget about how much push-ups, whatever it is. If the win is you just show up 3 times a week, it's completely life-changing. And it happens in this beautiful sort of slow way that you don't obsess over, you don't beat yourself up over, you don't do that sort of thing. And the danger is, and I can feel the danger in my own life right now, is, very proud of myself for keeping a workout routine for so many years, but it's something like the broken foot. When you're taken out against your will for a month or a month and a half or 2 months, that's when the real danger comes of not getting back into it. You really do. I really am going to have to like purposefully build this schedule again, like build the habit again, unfortunately. But
I've got a great way, brother. You said, I didn't mean to cut you off. You were saying how for you it was easing into it that worked well, and I just love how Yaz made us all so different. And I did the complete opposite. Like I did the 75 hard challenge, where you do you do all the stuff, and I built it in for just under 3 months, and it was awesome. Like that's what started the push-up group. And that was a couple years ago. And I thought about just getting back into it again. My wife's like, please don't do that right now. But it's like,
what I love
that
about the 75 hard and things like that. I haven't done the 75 hard, but I've done similar things to it, is that to have that structure, for me, the big benefit of that structure is, like you said, it's built in. Just the fact you're showing up to do the thing on a regular basis is like more important than how you do it.
I love even just like now it's gotten to the point where like there's been a perspective change since when I started the group, and the week would start, which starts on Sunday, like the Bible. So on Sunday I would dread like, oh, I got to do my push-ups. And now I'm like, dude, I get to do my push-ups. Like there's people without arms. Like there's veterans who would kill to do it. Please, God, let me do a push-up. And now I'm like, I'm privileged. I get to do this thing. And it's really nice to start the week off with a win. Even if it's small, even if it's just you did whatever amount of push-ups, whatever your goal is, it's so nice to start your week with a win, man. Like I get nutty sometimes and I stay up till 12:01 and start cranking out the push-ups just to shoot fire under the boys. And
it becomes a desire. It becomes a desire. It leans away from I have to do this. You suddenly, it's the thing you want to do with the time that God's given you, and that's the real shift. I mean, we can force ourselves into habits. We can, really push through and do this whole thing. But when you've made it, again, for me, it's not a weight. It's not a weight like a lifting record or something like that. It's when you find yourself go, whoa, I actually want to do this with my time. And you're like, who have I become that I want to spend my time this way? So amen,
it's beautiful, brother. We're shedding off layers of laziness, cringe, all the things of our when I look back on past me, it's like it's a whole different life, brother. I mean, we truly do live lifetimes in a life, or some of us do, and it's just it's a beautiful thing.
If you're doing it right, you'll live a few lifetimes in one lifetime.
So I have another topic that I was thinking about, like what do I want to bring to the group, or what do I want to bring to this discussion? And I guess for me, it would be, what are you carrying on you as to be a blessing, in your vehicle, on your person? Do you have things to stop major bleeding? I know it's not likely, but the most dangerous thing statistically we do as Americans is drive a car. So if you come up onto an accident and someone has major bleeding, do you have the tools to make it happen? Are you improvising with your belt? Because when seconds count, I don't want to be improvising. So that leads me to what I say. My point. I carry a tourniquet everywhere with me. I keep one in my car. I keep a full bleed out kit on our person, because not everybody knows Jesus, right? And in that moment, we might be able to give them a little more time to have that beautiful relationship with the creator of everything. And what a blessing that would be, to be able to help people. It's not out of fear. I'm not saying be afraid, carry this medical kit. I'm saying let's be diligent. Let's carry, let's get the tools and know how to use them. You can go to Bear Independent. He's got the YouTube channel instructing you on how to do it, how to use these things, and how to be effective. Why would you knock that over? All right, how to be effective and stop major bleeding. And, so along with having a tourniquet, we got the tourniquet, but we also have, I have an S-mark bandage, which is to wrap after you use your combat gauze, which has a little strip in it. So if you pack a wound, they can see if they got all the gauze out, and they can run an x-ray, because you'd be surprised how many times somebody had gauze left in them and they didn't know. Nitro gloves in case it's not my blood that I'm dealing with.
Yeah.
And this is, I have cool shorts that carry all this stuff, and back up, a chest seal for a sucking chest wound.
Yeah,
so this is just worst case scenario. Like I said last week, brother, just contemplate the unthinkable a little bit. What if someone's bleeding out in front of you?
Yeah.
And even worse, they don't know the King of Kings.
Yeah. The one testimony I have along those lines, and I can't recall if I have told this before or not. But one thing I started carrying around a few years back was Narcan. And it used to be Narcan. It's kind of behind the counter. You had to ask the pharmacy for it, and they look at you funny, and it's kind of a whole thing. But Narcan's now in front of the counter. You can just buy it wherever. And it just sounded like a good idea, of course, with all the opiate issues, with all the fentanyl. You don't know where you're going to be when you find somebody folded over, or on the ground, even worse. And it was actually at the Burning Man research trip a few years ago. I don't remember which year it was, but I made sure to keep a few Narcan things just in my little fanny pack. And sure enough, came up on someone in a crowd who was just out on the ground. And to be able to bust out again, you'd think at a place like Burning Man, more people would be responsible to carry around Narcan and save people's lives. But it was the one time I got busted out, and it was just like you say. It's not necessarily about being some hero who saved somebody's life, but to be the instrument through God gives this person. Because if somebody's going to be knocked out on opiates in public and you come across them, that's a potential either life-ending or life-changing opportunity for them, to be brought back like that.
It's a pivotal moment, brother, and let's just be prepared. I love it. I have it too. So I'm the same way, man. Look, check it out. So on the back of your headrest, so even if it's not me, if I say, hey, go to my headrest, grab this, it's just a buckle, and you grab it, and it comes right off. Mm-hmm. And that's Bear. That's Refuge Medical. We got a cat tourniquet. That's the most important quickly thing. And then right there, brother, Narcan. I want to be able to intervene just like you. We have that same interesting. I don't know if it's conviction or interest, but it's beautiful. Yeah. But this whole kit is super easily accessible. Everything in it is easy to grab. It's designed. I actually have two in here. That's pretty funny.
But have a couple too.
So this has everything. You can check it out on Refuge Medical. I'm not affiliated at all. I talk about things I believe in. I talk about things that work. I talk about things that I'm just passionate about. So, having something like this is what I would encourage all of my brothers and sisters out there. Just keep this. It's not that it's expensive. It's a couple $100. But what does that mean if you're saving someone's life? If you use any of this stuff, they will replace it. Trying to do that one-handed is hilarious. You're a fanny pack bro as well. That is awesome. It's top tier. You have an even better way to carry the stuff that I just pulled out of my pockets. So having it in the fanny pack is just as cool. And we're tracking, bro. Tracking like a tank, man. But I also keep spare batteries for anything that I need. in here. I don't want to nerd out too much on the everyday carry and stuff, but yeah, let's be prepared. Let's be effective. Let's be trained, and let's have the tools and know how to use them. I guess what I wanted to bring today is
Amen, buddy.
yeah.
Amen.
I
love it.
Check
That's
it. And
good.
Don't do the Amazon tourniquet stuff. When it really counts, we don't want the Chinese crap. We want stuff that has been vetted and tested. And CAT7, the CAT7 tourniquet has been used, I think, like 1,800 times throughout the GWAT and the Global War on Terror and stuff. So it's been vetted, tested. It works really well. Put that sucker high and tight. Do you know about tourniquets at all?
Oh yeah. Yep.
Okay, good.
Yeah,
just high and tight. Keep cranking it down until you stop the bleed. It's gonna hurt. Go ahead, buddy. Sorry.
No, I was just saying. You and I have had a longer tourniquet talk before. It was back in Basil's bunker, I think you called in. But yes.
Oh man, I don't mean to repeat topics on you. That's terrible.
Man, it's different one is important. There are important topics that need to come back. Trust me.
It's funny. I've called into a couple different. It's hard for me to keep up with who I talk about what, and maybe that's just my chaotic life. But
I understand.
Well, that's what I would say is like, let's be a little bit more prepared. And I guess the last thing I want to bring to you, I respect your time and everybody else's, is also considering that maybe it's not the end of the world today or tomorrow. I get that the end is near, and it has been for a long time. But maybe we should also be preparing for just a potential depression, a collapse, a struggle. And maybe we're not meeting Jesus right now. And if we are, good, great, be prepared. First that. I'm 100%. Be prepared to meet the King of Kings first. And then if it's not happening right now, like if it's further out than what we think, or there's a lot of signs and a lot of things that have made me prepare. But the spiritual preparedness first, and then I have a family. We have people to answer for. Do you have friends, a community? Just be diligent and know that yes, that's amazing to we get to meet Jesus after all of this. That's fantastic. And we're probably going to be persecuted. There's going to be real struggle. And I think that the people going through the Depression and going through the Revolutionary War and going through so many wars in time thought it was the end of time. And that's the only point I want to relay.
Sure.
I guess I think that I'm concerned that some are just too leveraged and, well, I get to meet Jesus, I'm good with that. It's like, well, what if we have to watch our families get hungry? I know that God provides, but how, this is the last thing, and I'll kind of leave it on this. If I have a shovel, how long do I have to pray over that dirt before the hole gets dug? Is our God a God of action? He's also, like, I agree, a God of prayer, but also a God of action. Those are the guineas making their opinions known. But I think that, works have to come too. And now is an amazing time for us. Like, yeah, things are way worse than the prosperity of our grandparents. Like, I'm sad growing my children up in this world, telling them, yeah, save your money, but knowing that it's basically hopeless going forward. They're ruining our prosperity, our generational wealth. And but that being said, hi, hold on. That being said, do you get the point I'm trying to relay here? I don't want to rant or ramble. I'm trying to be.
I think it's very important. And coming from a guy like you, I think that means a lot to people. These are the questions and the things that people are having to contend with right now. And I think it's plugged in with all the weird alien disclosure stuff as well. There's an obvious operation to inspire a certain set of feelings in people, and what you're saying is very wise, man. I think even more wise coming from a guy who's so prepper literate as yourself. I think that is an incredible message coming from just the right package there, buddy. I appreciate that.
Yeah, the preparedness isn't at all about like pack ratting. We're not trying to pack rat a bunch of crap and a bunch of food and think that, oh, I'm going to hunker down until the dust settles. It's not that at all. I'm thinking much more in terms of, let me make sure me and my family have enough food until the next growing season. Let's make sure that we have enough water, because 100 years ago, were so much more dependent on ourselves and on the local farms and farmers. And that disconnect is so much more staunch and severe than I think people truly understand. So like getting some form, even if you're in a city, I just say take some action. Like it's not like, if it's do 300 push, I can't do that. Then let's stretch. Let's do something else. Let's do something that brings you forward. And if you live in the city and you feel like it's hopeless, not hopeless, but doom or odds, it's over anyways. Let's plant fruit that grows every year in the front yard. Let's get rid of that green grass that does nothing good for anybody. And let's plant some food, some abundance. And let's watch it be blessed by Yah. Even if they're spraying us over the airs, I don't care. Watch it be blessed. Let it rest after the 7th year. What are we afraid of? I hate it. And in a just world, to me, it would be unauthorized airspace. I wouldn't allow them above me. But I can't. What am I going to do, brother? I'm just focusing on the things that I can do.
I hear you. That's where it's at. Everybody's asking the question. Everybody wants to do something, and we can all think of all the things that we're not able to do. But thinking about where God has us and what can we do is really the right step. And the more of those little steps we take, the bigger and bigger opportunities God's going to give us. God bless you, buddy. Liberty before authority. Thanks for calling in, man. I know you're. I always get messages about how much your calls are a blessing to people, man.
That's awesome, brother. That's fantastic. That's the only reason I do it. If a person is like, hey, man, it's made a difference. That's the only reason I'm doing it. And real quick, I'm calling you out. Call your mother. Call your mom, bro. That's not cool. Call your mom. And start doing the push-ups. Get in the game, buddy. Even if it's knee push-ups, whatever you got to do, find a creative way to get in the group and get involved and just commit to something and do it.
There you go.
It feels good, brother.
He's talking to you. He's not even talking to me. He's talking to you.
No. I'm talking to you specifically and then everybody else afterwards. But I love you, brother. You have a blessed day, man.
Thank you. Make sure to call in again, buddy. Talk to you later.
10-4, over and out.
Yeehaw, yeehaw. Okay, we got one more caller in the chat here. I'm coming up. This timing, as always, is going to be just about perfect. We got a wonderful caller, but hanging out, and it is the one, the only, Sir Ike. Let's see what's up. Sir Ike, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing all right. It's my first time on stream, so I'm just kind of hanging. It's been a long while since I watched anything from Canary Cry. I actually started watching y'all back in college. That was 8 years ago. Gosh, it's been a long time.
You're not Sir Ike. You're a different Ike, Mr. Ike. How are you?
Wait, you know?
Well, there's another caller, Sir Ike, who's called in plenty of times before. But you're a different Ike. You're another Ike. Beautiful gift of God, Ike. Okay, great. Nice to meet you, buddy.
It's nice to meet you too. Well, seen you plenty, but
that's part of the fun.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm just calling in to, say just a couple of things. First and foremost, thank you for all the research that you do and all the videos that you've put out. I actually initially got into Canary Cry because of the Face Like the Sun YouTube channel, watching Age of Deceit.
Amen. Very good.
And you mind if I step out for a second? And I just wanted to. It's all right if I share my testimony.
Yeah, please do.
So I'm not gonna lie, it's a little dark. Is there like a PG rating, PG-13, or?
Well, we are technically a family show, but
okay, then I will keep it a little more on the general side.
if it's something that's really graphic, you can find cute and poetic ways to describe it here.
Oh, for sure, for sure. I grew up in a Christian home, and believe it or not, I actually have heard God call me to things. When I was really young, I heard God calling me to be an evangelist. And, I'm like 5 at the time. So that's a $4 word. Now I have no idea what it means. So I asked my parents, I'm like, what's an evangelist? And they just kind of look at each other and they look back at me and they're like, well, it's like a preacher, but they just kind of talk to everybody about Jesus. I was like, okay, God wants me to do that. And they were like, okay. And we just never talked about it again. And I grew up in the church. You know, I knew my Bible. I I was young. I felt like I was doing all the right things. Went through a couple of tough things. Lost my great grandmother, who I felt kind of close to, but everybody just kind of seemed to, not be affected by it. I didn't learn until much later that it was because she basically had caused her own death by choosing not to go through dialysis after she went to the hospital. Like she rejected it.
Right.
So, but at the time, I felt like everybody was really callous about how they reacted to it, and I felt a little alone. And then my parents went through divorce, and I took that really hard. At about 13, I started asking God why without really expecting an answer, and I started seeking in other directions. I had started looking in all the wrong places, every wrong religion you could possibly think of, and ended up landing in the New Age theosophy, which I'm sure you're plenty familiar with in all your research. But make a long story short, I got into some really, really deep, dark, very witchcraft oriented things.
Like you do.
Like you do, I spent 6 years in that spiritual darkness, just getting heavier and heavier and feeling some very strong spiritual oppression over it. And at about 19, I finally realized, I haven't felt any kind of right since I left the church. And I didn't realize at the time that the reality was I had had a relationship with Jesus and I had walked away from that. And it wasn't, the church, but the one who had made the church. So I came back to church expecting it to just solve everything. It did not. It took a season of going to church before I finally was like, I know what I need to do.
Right.
And so I prayed in earnest for the first time in a very long time. And I just said, God, I am done. I'm done trying all my own ways. I'm done being my own God. I'm done treating life like it's mine when everything that you've made has been for your glory. And he said, oh, okay. Are you sure you're done with it? And I know this sounds a little crazy, talking about hearing a literal voice, but I think after being in that spiritual darkness for so long, he was giving me a great deal of grace. And so I had a little dialogue with him, and right in the middle of worship, and I said, yeah, I'm done. I'm done doing things my own way. And he said, okay, I want you to step out of the seats and into the aisle. And that was easy. Everybody worships in the aisle. I go to a Pentecostal church, so of course they're worshiping out in the aisle.
Oh yeah, traffic jams, man, in the aisle.
Yeah, and then he said, Isaac, I want you to kneel. I was like, for whatever reason, that just caught me. Like there was a hitch. Like I'm like, and I give all these in my mind really good reasons not to. I'm like, I could distract somebody. I don't know if it's going to be seen as proper etiquette. And I'm like, these people know me. This church is my family. They've known me for years. They don't necessarily know all the things that I've just been going through. But if I'm being obedient to God, I need to start right here. And so I did.
Yeah.
I knelt right then and there. And I fully expected God to just lay a heavy hand of rebuke on me. And he said, Isaac, I'm not done with you. And I broke down. What do you say to that? God doesn't need me, but he still chose me.
Right.
And that's the reality of the cross, is that Jesus came and died and so that we could be restored to right relationship with God. So I broke down into tears and I was like, all right, I'm done doing it my own way. What's next? And he said, I want you to wait. And I'm like, I just came this whole long way. 6 years in the darkness and I come back to the light and you tell me to wait? And he says, yep. And I'm like, okay. And so I did. I got a new job. And that's actually when I started listening to Canary Cry Radio. I was first working at some donut shop. And my brother and I listened to you all the time while we were working. And the long chain of events begin to happen. I get called up by my youth pastor to chaperone a college trip. None of the youth kids are interested in the college, but I end up going to Bible college. And I end up meeting my wife at my home church, who, by the way, has her own whole amazing story, but came from Maine and has been living in Michigan this whole time. And I just had never really met her because I was not spiritually or physically mature enough to even consider dating. But long story short, God has, just continually blessed me from that point forward. And the long and the short of it is, he asked for obedience and I gave it, and he's been faithful in it. And even in recent events, 3 weeks ago, our house and everything in it just burnt down.
Oh no.
Yeah. Oh no. That's the response that I get from everybody. And the heck of it is, I don't mind it all that much.
Yeah.
I just lost everything that I had physical attachment to, but I've got my family and I've got Jesus. He hasn't left me. And I don't think I've ever felt peace over anything like I have after the fire. And God has given me the opportunity to explode my testimony. I'm working in a totally different job than I was when I first started listening to Canary Cry. And to be perfectly honest, I'm not supposed to be witnessing where I'm at. There's some pretty strict rules against sharing your faith in the place that I work, and I don't care. Jesus has called me to witness to the ends of the earth, and I'm going to, whether
Yeah.
there's mankind's rules against it or not, and I'm going to do it in a respectful way. But man, the Bible says to respect your leadership, but if at any point you come to a point where that leadership clashes with the word that God has given us, that the commands that he has given us, then I'm gonna follow God.
Yeah. Amen. That's incredible, man. That's I
Yeah.
mean, your house burning down and feeling the peace of the Lord over the whole thing. I mean, I grew up in a Christian tradition where miracles were pretty common, and we've all seen and heard of some pretty amazing miracles that God has done for all sorts of people. But for the peace of the Lord to fall and rest on you in such a event and a time as that, I mean, that is a straight up miracle, bro. That's incredible.
No doubt about it.
Yeah.
And the other incredible thing about it is just what God has done to show us what he can do through the body. I mean, after the fact, people we didn't even know were coming out of the woodworks to help us with donations with clothes, to help us with furniture. We got a couple of free storage lockers until we can get a place and get on our feet. We're, in process of finding a home, which admittedly is a little difficult right now. But
Sure.
I mean, I'm just being obedient with the next right step, and God's already been providing so much for us. And I'm
Amen.
so thankful to the body that has been obedient to him, and to him who's been faithful to me far more than I could ever return.
Yeah. Amen, man. That's incredible. I mean, gosh, we've also heard testimony before, and it's really tough. And every time I see it, it inspires me in ways that no other testimony can. But like you say, the loss of, and it can take many different forms, and it's different for everybody. But basically, the loss of everything, and then to experience the myriad of ways that God brings the blessings that only he can bring. I mean, that step-by-step obedience. I loved it. You said the step-by-step, because honestly, it's difficult because we can't see the future. We don't know what's going to be asked of us next, and maybe we don't understand what we're asking to be or do or whatever. And the answer, again, as we've been talking about lately, is so simple, and yet it doesn't make it easy. And that's just taking that next step. So that's incredible, man. Do you have what's it called? Like a GoFundMe going or anything right now?
We have a Give, Send, Go going on right now. We have it up on my wife's Facebook page, and I'll probably post it again shortly here. But
Do you have a link
my
for it?
name's it's I'm trying to remember what the link name is.
Like if you have it up on your phone, or you can navigate to it or something, you can copy paste it into the private chat here on the back end, and it'll let me stick it into the YouTube chat. Would be happy to post that for you in case anybody is feeling inspired or obedient to get involved, of course. Unless
Right.
there's a way I can navigate to it.
I mean, I'm just trying to remember remember where it's at. Because it
You're calling into a live podcast and you don't have your Give, Send, Go link ready, bro?
yeah,
Goodness
I know,
gracious,
right?
you really are just step by step, man. Step by step, just obeying the Lord. That's hilarious.
Really, yeah. And that
Well,
that really is all it's been.
where?
Funny little
Yeah.
side thing while I'm looking for this link. But I I've been called. I hope I have time to do this, but last year in about June, our church decided that they were going to partner with a couple of missionaries to Poland, and they were going to do a mission trip to Poland. And at the time, my little man is like 6 months old, and I'm like, there ain't no way that I'm going to be able to, leave my wife here for Poland when he's a year and a half years old. And I, at the time, my father-in-law was pretty severely dealing with cancer, which is a whole other um, testimony, by the way. He has
All right.
glioblastoma, and he's progressed far well beyond where he should be. He's alive now, well beyond his um, expected point of death, and he
Yeah,
is
praise God.
darn near doing pull-ups. But this Poland trip, I was like, there's no way we can do it. My parents live too far away. Your father's not doing too great. Then her father started to improve. My parents moved to be like 10 minutes away from us. And the only thing that was stopping me was I didn't have any of the information, and I didn't know if there was a slot. My church comes to me, says, hey, we got a slot open. Do you want to go to Poland? And I say, I got to pray with my wife about this. And we talk and we pray, and we're like, yeah, we got to go to Poland. And so she says, you go. I've got plenty of help here at home now. And so I start getting into all the stuff. I get my passport ready because I've never had a passport before. And it arrives on April 11th at 10:32 a.m. And then at 11 p.m. on the same day was when our house burned down.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so, I mean, there's a part of me that kind of wonders just a little bit, maybe if it was some kind of an attack. I don't want to put a supernatural spin on everything. I do have keys. I don't want to put a supernatural spin on everything if there's just an explanation, but God uses the things that he has created to show his power and his miracles. So I don't see any reason that the enemy wouldn't do the same to try and hinder us. So it was
Yeah.
our dishwasher of all things that caught fire.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's kind of how it goes. Like you've been saying, I mean, obedience obviously is how we prevail in the ways that God has set out on our path. And then the other side of that is obedience can often really rile up the enemy. Obedience, and again, remembering that nothing happens outside of the sovereignty of God, which I'm sure you are intimately familiar with. When we witness these things happen in our lives, there is an aspect to witnessing the event, which is also witnessing the sort of spiritual battle and the inevitable victory that God has over that spiritual battle. And yeah,
Oh,
it is not. It's challenging, man. That's how this goes. When we step out and we say yes to what God wants for us, that's when things get really hairy, and that's when obedience. It's sort of this concept of obedience kind of costing us something,
yeah.
or being sort of maybe not the natural series of events that you would shoot for.
I mean, obedience is always going to cost us something. We have to put to death the old man, and that's of course one sacrifice that we're making. But
Mhm.
you immediately become a target of the enemy when you're obedient to God. I mean, look at Job. I can't lie. When I was watching my house start to fall to pieces, I felt a little bit like Job.
Right. Oh yeah,
But
of
I still
course.
have my family. I still have my health. I still have a dozen other things that he lost.
Yeah.
And I mean, God said, "Look at my servant Job. He's the most righteous man." Right? I cannot even say that I'm even close to righteous. So I'm just being obedient again, like one step at a time. I did throw the link up in the studio chat. I don't
Yeah.
know if you can see
I
it.
see that. I see that. And give, send, go links always come through crazy like this, but I opened it up and got the more uh,
Same
recognizable
one.
link for everybody. I popped it into the YouTube chat here. It's givesendgo.com/rebuild the Simerson family with hyphens in between the words. So rebuild hyphen the hyphen Simerson hyphen family. For people who need to type it in there, I'll jump over to the Rumble. Let's pop it in the Rumble there. There you go. Just in case anybody's feeling the unction of the Holy Spirit to come get involved, and you can read more about what happened there over on the Give, Send, Go. Well, good, man. I mean, God bless you. What a beautiful testimony you have from start to finish, but also to be continuing your obedience in a time like this. That's God's really going to bless that, and so we'll be praying for you, man.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. And I want to be honest, I still want to be obedient to going to Poland. I have a separate giving link for that, but you know what?
Sure.
I will throw that up in the comments when I'm
Pop it into
whenever
the
I'm
private
streaming.
chat. Pop it into the private chat because it's probably not going to let you share it in the chat.
Oh,
So I
okay.
have, a lot of times it stops people from posting links. But if you send it to my private chat here, then I can pop it into the chat for you, and people can.
Okay.
Can go
I
there.
gonna be honest, I did not expect that I was gonna be doing this today.
Oh, no worries. It's all good, man.
um
No, it's all good. You take a second if you need to. Also, we can wrap up this call here in a moment. And you
yeah.
can stay in the back room, so you don't have to leave. You just stay in the back room. Go get your link, and then when you get the link, put it into the private chat, and I'll share it.
Alrighty. Thank you so much, Battle.
All right, buddy. God bless. Take it easy.
God bless.
There we go. Very good. Very good. Bump, 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 bump. All right, here we go. What is it? We're at okay. A little bit longer than I expected, but it's always a little. When has the show ever been not longer than I expected? Literally never. Probably not once in the history of the show, because it's not about that. It's about the Canary Cry family coming together. Love talking to not a new member of the Canary Cry family, but a member of the Canary Cry family for the first time. That's what I'm talking about. That's what it's all about here, folks. And let that be an inspiration to anybody who maybe has been tuning in. Doesn't matter if it's a long time, a little time, but if you've been hanging out, listening, I encourage you to call in next time because that's what I love hearing from new people. Again, maybe not new people, but hearing from them anew. In the chat here, I'm going to put the link for Ike's Poland mission. I don't know if you guys hear that timer. Do you guys, if you're in the chat, do you hear that timer go off? Let me know, because I try to stop it before it actually goes off because it's kind of really hectic in my ears. Let me know if you can hear it or if it's just something for me to suffer through. All right, there's Ike's Poland mission link. Oops. Let me try. I'm gonna post it clean because I think I may have added a hyphen in there. That's not good. Okay, there you go. Now I'll jump over here. Poland mission link. Give it to the Rumblers. For some reason, I can't message the Rumblers from this thing. I don't know why that's the case. All right. Well, there you go, folks. As we're sitting here, I've got my various streams floating by. Goodness gracious, the endless, I won't necessarily call them retractions. The endless clarifications is very interesting. If indeed whoever's operation it was to make this secret government alien pastor meeting suddenly overnight, even though it's been out for months, become the most important thing in the world, the op is being dismantled pretty quickly. Or is that part of the op? I don't know, man. I don't know. Stay vigilant. All that really matters is that you draw close to God every opportunity that you can. And I'm going to go get ready to talk to some Canarians about podcasting. It's going to be great. Going to be awesome. I think some might even be here. And I'm trying to think, is there anything? No, I think that's it. What we do need to do is play this music. There we go. There we go. Big shout out to everybody who caught the show for the first time today, whether you caught it live or whether you're tuning in on the podcast channel, the audio, whatever it is. Glad you're here. Thanks for being here. I hope that the Lord had something for you in today's show. And think about calling in next time. We'll be back on Thursday for another one of these. Oh, yeah. Our value for value model here, of course, just like everything. All of our shows. No advertisements, no nothing like that. Not taking any of that sweet, sweet government UFO money. So if you get any value from what happens here, please consider becoming a producer. Go to canarycry.support. You can support us with your time, your talent, your treasure. All very important. Keep an eye out. We have an interview that's going to be coming out soon. I don't actually know. I should have asked John. It's either coming out tomorrow or next Friday. Who knows? It'll be a surprise. So much content. So much content. All right, everybody. We'll be back on Monday with another Canary Cry News Talk. See you then. But until then, think outside.